Hello there. Before you get started, on this episode of Zapped to the Past, we would just like to give a massive shout out to the following people: Andy Marsh, Cole Hutchinson, David Hearn, Sven Osa, 2000 DC, Gary Heather, Roger McNally, Lee Dove, Ben Granville, Mark Fletcher, Etienne Vettingveld, Niall Bullitt, Alexander Gosling, Tim TJ Walker, Phil Sowerby, Joshua K, Dominic Kendrick, Rune P, Nick James, Daniel Spreadbury, Peter Price, Richard Davey, Dennis B, AL82 Retro, Liam Carew, Dylan Darch, Alistair McMillan, Mark Schutz, Dan Wales, Gary Wilson, Oscar Jacobson, Brian Howarth, Rob Clayton, Clyde Radcliffe, Juan Luis Sanchez, Adam Askew, Leo Staples, Jason Hutchins, David Stringer, Chris Snowden, David Winter, Mike's Vintage Tech, John Ebbs, Jan Halholm, Stephen Quinn, and Roonster71. These amazing people are backed our Patreon at the C64 tier. Support they offer, well, it's just damn awesome. If you want to join them, get a mention in next month's shout out, access to our Discord server, early access to ad-free episodes, along with any special releases we put out, along with anything else we can think of, and sign up by the 18th of the month at patreon.com/zapped-to-the-past for way less these days than the price of a pint of beer. And now, enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome to episode 173 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week we looked at our second batch of games from issue 70 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and we're unimpressed with UN Squadron, sore after skating USA, and no longer employed on the night shift. This week, we conclude our look at the games in February 1991, along with what was also lighting up our cinema screens that month. Graham, the end of the month often brings fun and good cheer. Is that the case here?
Is it me, or is February 1991 just going on and on and on? Thankfully, this episode should see the back of the miserable old thing that it's been. And finally, in a month that also saw Canadian singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell release her 14th studio album in the US, we head out for a good old speedy dash-about as we explore the lush, layered scrolling landscapes and well-laddered caves of the Fancy Pants C64 conversion of the Amiga classic Shadow of the Beast, and then head off to Egypt to explore the hieroglyphs, scarabs, and grey-tiled walls in The Curse of Ra. At least there was one positive thing in February 1991, with the film The House of Smiles winning the Golden Bear at the 41st Berlin International Film Festival. I just hope the trophy wasn't some kind of stuffed animal. Anyway, as we ponder what kind of bear that might have been, we head to the world-famous Handegg Stadium so we can play some gridiron, only this time we're actually made of metal in the pointlessly robotic Cyberball, before finally picking out a random hand puppet presenter's folly from the children's BBC broom cupboard and making an entire game of it jumping around in the C64 game of Edd the Duck. Goodbye, February. You did give us Turrican too, but so long anyway, and thanks for all the eggs. March is coming, and with it, the return of a ninja friend of mine. Until then, we have this lot. February, who knows?
Who knows? It's a grey old month, isn't it? Nothing to look forward to in February.
No, February was always dark and bleak.
Yes, it was. My birthday's in February. It probably explains a lot.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you and Gary are summer babes. I'm a winter one.
Yeah, when was he born? Was he born?
Oh, he was more hatched.
I thought it was just an agreement.
It just appeared. Is this yours? I don't know.
I just agreed that Gary was a thing, and there he is.
And there he was. There he was. Good old Gary.
Yeah.
As ever. Oh, we love you really, Gary. We do.
We do.
We do. As ever, if you want to support the podcast, you can do that. We have a Patreon. It's on Patreon.com/zapped to the past.
To the past, yay!
Yeah, you can do that. Join up for the price of well less than a pint of beer. Probably about a sandwich these days. Although not the meal deal. The meal deal at work is £4.25 for a sandwich, bag of crisps, and a bottle of pop. That's quite good.
That's not bad.
So for a little more than the meal deal at work, you can support us. That's only one day though. If you spent that all month, you'd be well more than what you get from us.
Yeah.
You get access to our Discord. You get the episodes early, ad free, anything else we could think of, and you get all wrapped up in love and grace from us, which we do like. You can also buy us a coffee on Ko-fi.com, Ko-fi.com/Zapped to the past as well. That's cool, and so that's nice too. Or just interact with us on the social medias, the socials, Graham, the socials.
Do the socials, yeah.
Do the socials. Yeah, you could do that as well. And yeah, so there you go. So you can do all those things. That would be good. Come interact. We like interactions. It's nice. Come say hello. Say hello. Is there anything else you want to say, Graham, at the beginning before? Should we get into some games?
No, let's get into the games.
Christmas is nearly here, by the way. Just thought I'd mention that, just in case you forgot.
In the real world, it is. And then there's in the Zaps of the past world, it's February, of course.
Yeah, we've gone well past it. But in the real world, yes, Christmas is soon be here.
Yes, and we've blown through, and they mentioned the fact we've blown through 200,000 downloads, for goodness sake.
Oh, we did, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Yeah. That was good, wasn't it? Yeah. I've been waiting for, I don't know if it's happened or yet, but as of yet, Podbean has not popped the badge.
They have issued the badge.
Oh, is the badge out? Okay, cool. Yeah. So you will have seen this then. I will have put this onto I will wait. But it's on the social. So on the socials, I will have used the badge. I was waiting for it to pop.
200,000 downloads. Goodness me.
That's quite a lot. Way more than I ever thought we'd get to.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just shows you that's amazing. And there's by the time this one comes out, 173 episodes plus all the other extra bits we've done. There's easily 200 episodes plus of stuff, so it's amazing, really.
Yeah. Go listen. Loads of stuff. Loads of entertainment. Yeah. And this is November, isn't it? End of November we're recording this. This means we have been recording now for 4 years. Not continuously, obviously, but we started in November 2020.
We did.
Recording.
Crazy.
I know. Who'd have thunk it? I thought we'd be done by the end of 2022.
Neutralise the electro scan.
Another year left. Anyway, should we get into some games? It's what people want to listen to.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's the 200,000 people downloads. So that's what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Get on with it. All right, let's get on with it. Let's get to our first game of the week. Graham, that one's over to you because it's time for you to tell us what it's like to be in the Shadow of the Beast.
Shadow of the Beast is a whopper, isn't it? This was £1,999. Or £19.99 to you and me. 86% it got in the pages of Zap. 86%. And it was a cartridge game. So it was a C64 GS, I think, cartridge game. It was published by Ocean, but of course it's copyright Psygnosis, or Psygnosis, however you choose to say that.
Psygnosis. This
was an Amiga game, primarily converted to other formats. And obviously the conversion here was DMA design. Therefore, the coder was Richard Swinfen. The graphics were Steve Hammond. He did the graphics for Ballistics, if you remember that. And the musician was Frederick Seigerfalk. He did the Blood Money music.
Oh, yes.
And the box art, of course, is Roger Dean. Roger Dean. That sounded like the loader of a Spectrum game at the beginning then. Okay, here we are. Shadow of the Beast then. Wow. The game then. I'm going to read this directly from the blurbs. Many years ago, on a moonless night, a small child was stolen away from its unsuspecting parents. Its mysterious abductors carried it far across the land to the mighty temple Necropolis. Ooh. There, the child is accepted by the mages of darkness, warrior priests of the Beast Lord. Okay. Deep below the temple, the child was escorted, passing through a labyrinth of rooms and passes I'm guessing passages it's meant to be, to the chambers of creation. There, the evil mages worked their dark arts, creating strange creatures, plants, and traps to guard the beast's stronghold. For the child, they had a special purpose. But first came years of preparation. Secret potions concocted from the blood of rare creatures slowly transformed his appearance, turning him from a human into a strange creature of incredible power, agility, and strength. Deep hypnosis caused him to erase memories of his past life completely and become the warrior messenger of the beast. Many years passed in his service to the temple as he grew to maturity. Then one day, he discovered an awful secret, the horrible truth about his past, a truth that now leads him on a trail of total and bloody revenge against his masters. You were that child. Now the time has come to enter the shadow of the beast. So then it says, in search of the beast. In the grounds of Necropolis, all was silent and still. The moon low and large on the horizon. The moon low and large on the horizon threw long dark shadows into the corners and a cool blue light across the stony ground, disguising the blood-red stains, blood-red, on the sacrificial stone. Not a single creature stirred, not even a mouse, to disrupt the tranquility. Not a leaf moved on the nearby trees, even. There was not a trace of life in that sinister place, but for a single point of light glinting against the age-worn face of a statue. It was reasonably well lit. Let's just say that.
Someone to turn the lights on.
Talk about hyperbole. Up there in the huge arms of the deity's image sat a lone creature. In its powerful hand, it clutched a globe of seeing, thank God for that, which it moved slowly from side to side, examining its reflected features. As it did so, it recalled the events of that day, the frightened humans being herded into the central courtyard, the pathetic pleas for help as they were dragged one by one to the sacrificial stone, the final air-rending screams as the knife came down in one swift arc and the lifeblood ran. And then a tired, resigned face being pushed towards the stone, a face that seemed of some importance to him. Yet how could that be where the lives of these people meant nothing to him? And as the gleaming blade struck home, he recognized the agonized face of his father. And suddenly the painful memories of all he had been came flooding back to him. His masters had done this to him. They had been responsible for all that he was and the loss of all that might have been. Well, now the warrior would stop killing for his masters and begin to exact his revenge. Okay.
Ooh.
Nearly there. The warrior's objective. You must fight your way through several regions. I hate it when they use the word several. No, a few. Several. How many? I don't know. A few. Several.
Couple.
Regions in order to reach the heart of the enemy's stronghold and face your ultimate adversary. Any creatures you encounter will invariably be hostile and will cause damage when they come into contact with you. Contact can be avoided by punching or kicking creatures away from you before they get too close, or by shooting them if you have a weapon. Each time you are damaged, your heart rate will increase. Your current heart rate is shown on the monitor in the top left corner of the screen. If your heart rate gets too high, your heart will burst, resulting in instant death. During your attack on the stronghold, you will find various artifacts which can be used to assist you on your quest. Some of these items, keys for instance, will be collected for later use when you move over them. Items that you have in your possession will be shown at the top of the screen. Other items, such as potions, will have an instant effect, which is shown on the screen when you move over the item, just in case you missed the way I described that earlier. What's going on with these instructions?
I don't know. Did someone not have a word with the UI guy? Because the number goes down.
I know, I'll come to that in a minute. Don't worry, it's all duly noted. There are also weapons that have been collected at certain points in the game. These are used instead of punching or kicking to destroy your opponents. Certain creatures can only be destroyed by special weapons. It is up to you to discover the best way to use the artifacts, but special weapons only destroy certain enemies. Use them. Though it's not up to you. The game tells you that you've got to use them.
Yeah, otherwise you're dead.
Otherwise you're dead. And that tells you how to find and how to tackle the creatures you encounter. And that's kind of the game blurb. I'm not going to explain the instructions and the controls. That's actually basically it for the blurb. Mm-hmm. Very elaborate, Psygnosis-y style, over-the-top guff.
Very much so. Mm-hmm.
So the conversion of the...
Oh, so well written. So lovely. Guff.
And so the C64 conversion of the somewhat legendary Amiga game is upon us. Cartridge 2. Oddly, this is an Ocean and Psygnosis combo. Not sure how that partnership happened, but here it is, in cartridge form. Shadow of the Beast and later Shadow of the Beast 2 do have a reputation for having that Psygnosis Amiga quality feel, particularly the graphics and music. Even on other capable platforms, these games were graphically interesting. However, this often masked the gameplay, which could be quite dry and over-difficult at times. Enter, then, Shadow of the Beast, a pretty-looking fantasy run and punch, run and gun, run and explore, run and punch and explore, run around and do stuff, adventure. That's what it is. Aside from the faster loading times, I assume the C64 GS cartridge games had more capacity for graphics, etc. in terms of space. The machine hardware is still the hardware, though, isn't it? Underneath all of that, I think.
Yes.
The opening loading salvo here is a battle of the logos. The watery chrome drop shadow blue pill of ocean versus the chrome shaded angular prog rock style display typeface of Psygnosis. The title screen goes away and we're straight in with a multi-parallax scrolling effect that has become synonymous with the Shadow of the Beast games. My first thought was that it looked good for a C64 and aligned reasonably well to the 16-bit versions. Indeed, the scrolling is better than the Atari ST and all the other 8-bit versions. Okay, so someone knows that they've got a scrolly chip. And it's also a step up from the games of this type that we've seen that have tended to be fairly mono-scroll backgrounds. Okay, there's a scrolling message on the title screen and such, and some good music here too. The music's pretty good on the C64. It's a version of the Amiga music as well. Pretty good. My emulation, though, seemed to make the sound really crackly for some reason. But a swift check on Lemon and other sources, and the sounds were actually quite fine. It's a nice piece of music, like I said, and a good version of the Amiga version too. So, okay, so far so good, right? Pressing the joystick button kicks things off. The scene then becomes the same as the scrolly thing, minus the scrolling writing, of course. There is a counter on the top left, which is your heart rate. In other versions, on the C64, it's the number 25. It says in the blurb, your heart rate increases when you are hit damaged. And this is deadly to you if it gets too high, which it is. But here, the more you get hit, the lower the numbers go. I'm not sure I get what they were trying to do with that. It all seems a bit confused. So you start off with 25 heart rate? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, the warrior is now in the landscape. It's a bit of a blocky mass of blue in a warrior human shape with what looked like a nappy on, or at least white underpants. Your warrior is a couple of sprites high and reasonably well animated to run, jump, crouch, punch, jump kick, shoot, and use items. This is all via the joystick, of course. Running left and right will trigger the scrolling and, of course, the super deep field parallax layer effect, which does look nice and gives the game kind of a quite nice quality feel and look at that point. And then you set about the objective of the game. Fight through the regions on your quest to find the beast in its lair and defeat it. And so begins the running and the climbing and the jumping, the punching, and the running, and the running. As you move left and right, you will move through the region. Your passage will be blocked, it sounds painful as I always say, or impeded at least by an odd collection of larger than average enemy types, as well as environmental hazards like spikes, stalactites that push up and down through the scenery. Beach balls seem deadly in this universe, as well as large bats, creatures, and other items that you must either kick, punch, shoot, or avoid, but probably mostly punch. They're quite good looking, generally. A tad on the blocky side, but there's a few of them, and they're all bigger than average. Plus, they move okay. Their terror is a little one, though, as they just kind of get in the way and cost you health, which, given the health top-ups are few and far between, means you'll probably die a lot, and you get one life.
Yeah. You do.
As you run along the landscape, you will come across some items with entrances and indications to encourage you to explore. And you can enter other areas, large underground caves, snakes and ladder-style platform worlds, long ladders down wells. There's a lot to wander around and explore with enemies chasing you about all the time. Here and there, you will encounter much larger enemies, which are also well drawn for what they are, I suppose. These will require better weapons, or the weapons in general, and certainly your kicks and punches aren't going to survive the day here. Luckily, there are weapons dotted about, which you can pick up and also use. Normally, they're located one screen away from the enemy, so you know you've got one coming. And you also need to find the keys for reasons. When you enter areas like the underground, there is some narrative text and other areas, narrative text that occurs in between that tries to move the story on a pace, I guess. And it's descriptive, but boring. Most of the other graphics in the game are varied. The underground is less successful, with fairly boring Commodore brown walls and floors and the occasional large stalagmite to menace you. There's also drops in there that will kill you. Like many warriors, you can fall so far in this game, but a long fall will kill you outright, and then it's back to the start you go. And that is principally it. You explore, punch, make your way through some more, run, punch, walk around some more, all while you're looking for the beast, I guess. There's some nice music, like I said, here and there. Technically, probably clever scrolling. Though, is it though, really? I mean, scrolling the screen at different speeds on different RAS lines isn't groundbreaking on a C64, is it really? I mean, it's been able to do that from the get-go. So
yeah, there's a lot of them, though. There's a lot of layers. And it's nice that they've done it.
Yeah, but it's not a technical groundbreaking feat. You're just splitting the screen on a raster line and changing the scroll speed for that relative to the position. It's not rocket science, that. I mean, we managed it in demos, and that tells you everything you need to know. So the actual game you play is just a bit boring. There isn't a lot to it, and that's something that the Amiga version also suffered with. This isn't a C64 thing. That and being over-challenging in terms of life quota. Sure, there's some okay animations and some half-decent enemies, but it all seems to boil down to running and jumping and punching over and over again. Yeah, you can pick things up, and you can even go through doors and climb down wells, but it's a big old walk with little payoff. It's a Lord of the Rings of a game. At least on the Amiga, there was the spectacle and the soundscapes to tickle your fancy. You don't get so much of that here. The graphics are okay, but fuzzy and lack the attention to shading we've seen in other games. Take a look at Turrican 2 if you want to see complex scrolling and amazing colourful graphics with nice shading. The colours in Shadow of the Beast are washed out and leave things generally indistinct. Add to that the tedious gameplay, and you quickly get the impression that this game is visually and orally interesting, but otherwise completely vacuous, which is a great shame. I was also reminded of the game Draconis when I was playing this on the C64, which was a budget Kev Franklin Zeppelin game from 1988. I would argue that was better visually and orally, and not that really dissimilar in gameplay. Parallax scrolling aside, it was also a better game than this and 18 quid cheaper. Go and do that. So as a conversion of a dull 16-bit game, they've done well. No surprise, it continues that dull theming. I just didn't feel any of the passion in the C64 version at all, but it needed the Amiga music and the Amiga graphics chip, didn't it, to really sell this. Without that, we've just got a variation of a game bitty games that we've seen loads of times, and they're not very interesting. This isn't really that different to Rastan or loads of other games where you're just wandering around, climbing over things and picking stuff up. It's boring, very boring, and inexpensive boring at that. So I wasn't very impressed with it. No doubt all the Psygnosis aficionados and the devotees will all be going, what do you mean? You can't criticize a Psygnosis game? They're amazing. It's like, oh, okay, on the Amiga they were. But on the C64, it's boring. That's the word you're looking for, boring. And that's what it is. What did you think?
It's an odd one. It's an odd game, this. I mean, I didn't even know they'd done a version of the C64, if I'm honest. I think they've done an extremely good job in porting this over to the C64. I don't think it has...
It's a competent version of a boring game.
Yeah, it's no right really running on the C64. I think with what it should be. I mean, but by putting on a cartridge, it's a solid version of the original, but that brings all the annoyances and frustrations with it. And that's the problem. The positives are, it's quite the looker, I thought. So I think whether it's easy or not a lot of games do it. So it's got some good parallax scrolling routines for the sections, multiple layers, they give a great level of depth to the outdoor scenes. I really like the music. I thought the music was really nice.
It is good.
Suit of really good moody tunes. And it actually makes playing this quite enjoyable. It's even though it's a very simple game of run around and find the stuff you need to progress, it's not that deep. It's very simple. It's good to see that the massive sprites and enemies are all here too, even if they have been C64ified. We've seen that in a few things, but it is what it is. It moves at a good pace too. It's fast. Not something seen in many of the other versions, especially the ST version, which I had a look at and was.
The other versions are jerky, horrible, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're taking their time with the D-ports. The Spectrum House version, they are what they are. They're not as good as this, but they're not terrible. They could have been a lot worse.
They were all right.
Yeah, they actually have scrolling screens in them as well, so we sometimes don't see that in those versions.
So it's just the word scrolling very carefully there.
A lot of them use just flick, because they flick screen a lot in those versions. So, they've got around those machines' limitations.
It flicks at a faster interval.
Yeah, okay. The issues here lie with the original game, which, as you rightly said, despite looking great, was not that much fun to play, even at the time.
Boring.
I remember you having it, this and Wrath the Demon, and we would like...
And Shadow of the Beast too, yeah.
Yeah, look at those visuals, they're great. Then we play it and go, oh, it's so boring.
Bah, no time.
Yeah, we just turn it off. I'll give them full credit for doing a stellar conversion of a game. It's just not that much fun in the first place.
Yeah.
This is a very good version. It took me ages to actually work out what that death screen was, though. I was like, what is that?
Because that's a bad scan of the Amiga version. That's
I was like, what? I'm trying to work it out. It took me ages. So a good use of the cartridge to cram lots of visuals and stuff in there. So well done, cramming all that in, and it moves at a pace because of the cartridge version allowing it to load quickly. I didn't mind the interstitial little bits of text. They were a bit dull, like you said. Yeah, they're a bit boring. But at least they had take something like eSWAT, where it would just flick to the next bit. And they're taking all this. They could have done that here, but they didn't. They kept those bits in to actually sort of link scenes to scenes and at least give you some context to them. So
just put it in the middle. Don't justify it at the top. Don't position it at the top. It annoyed me. In the middle. Come on.
Yeah,
in the middle.
Fair enough.
In the damn center it in the middle. Or even justified, but in the middle. Idiots.
I didn't mind this on a technical level. It's not, I think it's pretty decent, but I think the problem is that the original game was boring, and you rightly said.
Problem A, the original was boring. Problem B, it's side by side with Turrican 2.
Yeah. It's not picked the best month to release.
No, it's not. If you're going to have a run around a landscape game, Turrican 2 every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And Turrican got 96, it's got 86. I would suggest this is wowed with it. It's like, I can't believe they've got this running, looking like this, at least this decently on the C64, considering what the original was. It was one of those games on the Amiga to look at, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, Psygnosis had that. Like I said, it had the Psygnosis polish, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it requires a 16-bit graphics chip and a Agnes and a Denise, or whatever they called it on the Amiga, I forget now. It needed all that.
I did like the animation on the main guy, though. I thought it was well animated. His running was cool.
Like I said, the animations are fine. Yeah, that's what I mean.
He's running around a lot.
Every level is like that, though. It's not like it. I mean, even the Snakes and Ladders levels, you are periodically your running is interspersed by climbing up or down ladders. I'm like, oh, what?
The game design is weak. Yeah, the game design in this is very...
It's very such a pity.
It's very rote and like, they've created a big world with very little to do in it.
Yeah, the curse, isn't it? Graphic. I don't know. It's just, I don't think it has the same visual impact as the...
No, it won't. But it was never going to, was it?
It's a good attempt, but like I said, it hides the boring game.
There you go. Shadow of the Beast. £20. 20 of your English pounds at the time.
It's a lot of money.
That's like a full price 70 quid game these days.
It's a lot of money for that.
Let's move on, because we've still got one game this half before we move on. And that game, it's the Curse of Ra.
Ra.
Welcome to the Curse of Ra. Or just plain old Ra, as it was also referred to in the instructions. Ra. It's just R-A. Ra. From Rainbow Arts, whose initials are Ra.
Ra.
This is £9.99. This is copyright cyber style. Ooh. That's how I like to dress these days. We're in the future now. I have one trouser leg shorter than the other and some neon green trousers, some leggings. The coder here was, and I apologise if I butcher these names, Hakan Akbiek. Visuals by Arnold Franz Sikowski, and the musician was Rudolf Stember. Mr. Akbiek did nothing else on the C64, but Arnold Sikowski did the visuals for a few other games. One that caught my eye was The Lost Ninja.
Oh, right.
Not last, but Lost. Comes out in 1991, so maybe one for a future games that Zapped got issue with a name like that. I like ninja games. Ninja Massacre, The Lost Ninja.
The Lost Ninja.
He's the one who. Where was it? Where was everyone? They're all dead, mate. All dead. They all got killed.
All dead. Get lost.
Rudolf Stember did a few games, nothing that I recognised from around the time. So, did other tunes, but nothing that I know about. Anyway, what is the Curse of Ra? There's only the back of the box, because the instructions are just that. There was no real rationale for the game given. There's nothing in those instructions, actually, story-wise or anything. So
no, there really wasn't.
The back of the box says this: inside an ancient pyramid, you fight for your survival. The mighty god Ra has transformed you into a scarabaeus. No, he's transformed you into a scarab. That annoyed me. Now, Ra is chasing you through hundreds of mazes. Why? He's just turned you into a scarab.
It just is.
All right. Can you solve all of the puzzles and get out of the pyramid alive? That's it. Tells us nothing much. But the Curse of Ra is a single-screen puzzler where you must line up blocks of the same type and then click on them to get rid of them. And that's about it.
Okay.
The game loads with a nice enough title screen. It's a bit pink, but it kind of wipes on in sections. Nice effect. Nice like demo type effect. And it's got two rounded Ra type figures on either side.
They are what they are.
They are what they are. And there's a big Ra, R-A at the top. Nice bit of music playing here. And I actually thought the music throughout is pretty good, actually. I quite like the tunes in this. They're all right. We get some credits, and pressing fire gives us 3 options. There's logic mode, arcade mode, and user mode. And we also get the option to turn the backgrounds off. They knew something, didn't they? Logic mode is the main meat of the game, I guess, where you work your way through all 100 levels in sequence. Arcade mode picks 10 levels at random for you to go through, and user mode allows you to edit the screens and create your own levels. Selecting the logic mode allows us to enter a password. Again, like we said last week, good addition. Yep, each level has its own code and allows you to start from where you left off. So basic four-letter words. I don't know why I never understand why the first level has a password, because it just doesn't need one.
Seems
but it's got one. Seems odd. Anyway, it doesn't matter, does it? It's whatever it does. They've given them all. Maybe it's something to do with the code, that if there wasn't a password for that, it would break, something like that. So yeah, you can enter a password. So if you've got fairly far into it, put the password in, you start from there. Good stuff. If you haven't played yet, simply start the game. The screen wipes off and the first level loads in. The game loads faster with the background off. It does. So up to you. You can turn it off if you want. I don't know. You might want to, or you might not. I found it easy to read the screen as well with the background off as well, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But if you leave them on, and you're greeted with a blurry grayscale background,
you are.
with some tiles over. This is the first one. There's some tiles over to the right of the screen, and your pink scarab on the left. On another tile, it's on like an ank. Some of the tiles on the right are grey, and some of them are blue and have symbols on them. You start on an ank, so you fly around on an ank. And by holding fire and moving in the 4 directions, you can move this square about until you join the other tiles on the right. At this point, you can then let go of fire and wander onto the grid of squares. So basically, just if you hold down fire, you can move. If the tile you're on is movable, you can move that tile with you and fly about. If it's not, you just wander about. And that's kind of what it is. Your objective here is to wander across the squares until you're on a blue one. So on the first level, there's like 8 blue tiles. 2 of them, you've got 2 pairs right next to each other. That's kind of handy. And then there's a little grid of 4 with them with different, sort of 2 of each, but they're in opposite corners from each other. What you're going to do, your objective is to wander across the squares. And when you get to a blue one, at this point, if you press fire, it brings up a cursor. You can move this over the grid and onto other grid squares. If there is a square, if you move it onto a square with the same symbol as the one you are on, and if that square is in the same row, horizontally or vertically, then you click on this, and when you move off that square, they both disappear. So they don't have to be touching, they just have to be in the same up or down row. That's all they've got to be. Don't matter where. They can be 5, 6, 7, 8 tiles apart, or they can be right next to each other. Don't matter. As long as they're in the same row, vertically or horizontally, you just click on them, they disappear. Don't have to be touching that sort of thing. That's all you got to do. You repeat this procedure for all the blue tiles in the grid. So you do those 2 that are next to each other first to kind of show you how to do it. Then what you do is you move into those ones that are they're in a sort of like, space. So you move them along one and get them into line, and then you can get rid of them as well. And that's it. Once you've cleared them all, you move back to your ank tile, which is the first one you were flying in on. And as soon as you move on to that, the next level loads in. And that's it. They get more tricky as you progress. It's typical logic puzzle, single screen puzzle action. There's nothing much more to it. There are different tiles appear, so you get more and more tiles with different pictures on them or different things on them. So you get wolf heads that are looking left or looking right. You'll get bird heads looking left or right. You'll get caduceuses. You get different shapes. You'll get all kinds of different weird things. You got to make sure you're kind of looking to match them up in a vertical or horizontal, and then getting rid of them. Different tiles appear though as you go on. These are you get unmovable stones. You can't move them, but you've got to actually remove them to progress. So you have to kind of work out how you do that. You get ice stones, which you will move across until you reach a normal stone. So if you move onto that, you'll keep skidding across till you hit something normal. In the logic mode, by the way, you can't fall off the edge of the map, the edge of the grid. So if it's a nice one, you'll just stop at the edge. You get teleporters, which zap you to another teleporter. You get traps, which crumble under your feet. And you get movers and target stones. And the movers have a triangle on them pointing in the way that will move you when you step on them. And that's how they kind of work. As you play, there's a nice enough tune burbling away in the background, which is all right. There's no UI. There's no timer. This is in logic mode to hurry you along. It feels very sedate gaming. Very sedate. You just like it
is a bit.
The arcade game, though, the arcade mode is perhaps more interesting in that you have a number of lives, so it feels more like a video game. You can fall off the edges of the squares, which means the ice tiles and moving tiles are more dangerous. There's a timer on each level, and you need to complete the level before it runs out, or you lose a life and must start again. There are also coins to collect, which allow you to buy abilities at the end of each level and then use them when you want to by pressing the space bar. And if you've bought the item, you can use the number key to activate them. Okay, this allows you to start of utilize items. So if you bought, I'll just go through them. There's 9 of them. So if you press 1, so number 1 is you can fly for 30 seconds without falling into the void. So you don't need a square underneath you to move around. Number 2 is unmovable stones will be darker for a few seconds. So you don't have to check for unmovable stones because you don't know what stones are unmovable when the game starts. You have to kind of find them out. Number 3 changes one group of stones into another. Pull the cursor onto another symbol as you're standing on. Press the button and all stones with the symbol below the cursor change into those you are standing on. Kind of handy if you want to get rid of a lot.
Very handy.
Number 4, you can remove any pair of stones with identical symbols, even if they are not on a horizontal or vertical line. Number 5, get 1 more minute of time. Number 6, go directly to the next level. Number 7, if you remove 1 pair, all other identical stones will be removed too. Although I don't quite see how that's different to remove any, don't know. Maybe there's something missing there. Anyway, number 8, restart the current level without losing a life. And number 9 is 1 extra life. So that's it. So it's a bit more interesting, that arcade version, in that it feels more like an arcade game. You've got the number of tiles to do. It picks a random level. You don't know what it's going to be. There's 100, out of 100 to choose from, and you've got to score. It's a bit. If you want this game a bit more sort of panic-inducing, then that's the mode to go for. If you want the sedate, laid-back, just do 100 levels, play the logic mode. The visuals are cut-down versions of the 16-bit version, and the backgrounds are more off-putting than impressive. They're really quite chunky and blurry, and they've obviously just, I don't know whether they've just scanned the 16-bit backgrounds, but they kind of show Egyptian-style scenes with the Egyptian gods and stuff, but they're just a bit blocky and horrible. The problem is if you turn them off, it's just a black screen. So the tiles, they're just floating in the middle of nothing, and it's kind of hard to sort of really see what you're doing. So I don't know. It's easier with them off. It loads quicker, and you can kind of read the screen better. But with them off, it's just a bit, it's just floating tiles on black. They could have done something, I think, something extra without the horribleness. I don't know. There's some nice affordances, like pressing delete. You can press delete to reset the level if you dead end yourself, because it's quite possible to dead end yourself. You get stuck somewhere where you've deleted a thing and you can't move back. So you can just press delete and it'll restart. That's quite good. The password system and 100 levels, they'll keep you going, I suppose. But we've seen a few puzzle games like this recently. And unfortunately, like you said with Turrican 2 and Shadow of the Beast, Chip's Challenge came out at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's a much better puzzler than this. So
it is.
Although this works as intended, and it's a deport from the 16-bit versions, and this has the addition of the more interesting arcade mode here, there's just not enough variety to really hold the attention. There were loads of different things in Chip's Challenge that you kind of had to keep in your head with all the different ways that things had it and stuff like this. This is just, the arcade mode is more appealing due to the restrictions and the level of challenge it offers, whilst the logic mode just feels like just too empty to pull you through 100 stages. Zapped gave this 36%, maybe a little harsh, I think. For a full-price game, I don't know, the arcade mode's not going to entertain for too long, and the long haul of the logic game, it just doesn't have enough to put, just not enough there. You're just moving these tiles around and getting rid of a couple and then getting rid of another couple. The extra tiles don't really add that much. Needed something else. This was a budget title, would have been great. It's just because it's a simple single logic symbol thing idea. As it is, too simple to stand up against the better puzzle games on the system. I personally, if I'd have made this, I'd have lost the backgrounds, made the tiles easier to read, tried to cram it into a single load, and just had the arcade mode personally. And that would have been the 100 levels. Work through them. Here you go. Here's a challenge. Work your way through them. Got rid of the logic mode. Put this out of budget. And I think you'd have had a cracking little budget game on puzzle mode. And I think the simpleness would have been accepted on a budget level. But as it is, 10 quid, it's just a bit boring, this, which is never really, we said it about the other one when we had Puzznick and the other one that never came out. I can't remember what it was now.
It was like Puzznick.
The one that was like Puzznick but wasn't Puzznick, yeah. And we said that one was boring because it was just a bit boring compared to that. This compared to Chip's Challenge, top-down, logic-based, tile-based things, as they both are kind of thing. Go play Chip's Challenge. This is just a bit dull. What did you think?
I mean, it sums it up perfectly, doesn't it, with this game? Of all the games that need to be in bloody yellow that we've seen, Commodore Yellow, all yellow, this is the one that needed it. And it's all grey. It's all bloody grey. It's set in the bloody... Curse of Ra sounds very Egyptian to me.
What was that other puzzle game where we were set in Egypt where you had backgrounds which was kind of 3D and you were moving these tiles back? That was the one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a similar thing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was just more yellow.
Yeah.
I demand more yellow in my Egyptian-themed games. Sorry, but I do. And that greyness really bit it in the backside because it made it look drab and dull.
Yeah.
And the game itself, the actual little square icons, the blue sort of shaded colours and things, they could have looked all right. And I guess they made it to stand out. But ultimately, the game was just outgunned by other games and pretty boring and expensive. Now, I agree with you. It didn't deserve to be at 36%. I think that was a bit harsh. There's some nice touches and nice details to this game. It was a bit awkward, but it was quite competent at what it was doing. It just was a bit visually bland and it desperately needed to be in bloody yellow. It just needed to be more deserty.
Yeah, brown and yellow. If, like you said, if ever a C64 one had the palette is right there.
of all the games to go, what colour should we make this game? It's called the Curse of Ra. It's basically Egyptian mythos, really. I don't know, grey and blue. I was thinking more brown and yellow, but grey and blue. You're the boss. You're the boss, man.
Well,
last time I went to Egypt, it was very, very grey and blue. I don't know where you're getting all this yellow from. I mean, obviously the sand and all that side and the pyramids and that, but they were very grey, very grey.
Yeah, very, very.
So no, I enjoyed it-ish, what I could enjoy, but it just felt a bit boring. And I think it didn't help that it was visually unappealing. So I tried to persevere with it, but I found controls were a little bit clunky as well, and that didn't help. And I just thought, what am I doing? It's just a tile match game, and that's pretty lame. And there's loads of them now that are way better than this. So no, it wasn't for me.
Plotting, that was the other one.
Plotting, yeah, exactly. And that was somebody listened to the person in the background and went, "Where is this set? Egypt, it's all yellow and brown there, mate. All them sarcophagi, they're all gold, aren't they? Yellowy gold. They're famous for their yellowness, really. That goldy yellow colour. Well, because the sun, quite yellowy out there, I think you'll find it's, very... I mean, I know that the pyramids were white originally because they were covered in limestone, which reflected the sun's light, weren't they? But now they're kind of yellow looking, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I take your point.
Like a drunk man's tea.
I'll take your point and I'll feed that back to the designers and see what they say.
Yeah, time travel back and feed it back to them.
Can you make this a bit more brown and yellow?
More yellow? Have you got yellow? No. Our version of the C64 has no yellow.
Yellow.
We can't digitize in yellow. You've got to learn to go with the flow of things.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. It's just boring, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah.
It was just a bit on the dull side.
Yeah.
There we go. That's quite a meandering first section there.
Oh, isn't it just?
Good Lord. February. Come on, man. What are you doing? Doing February. We're going to go away, take a quick break, see if we can liven ourselves up, and then head to the cinema to see what was going on the big screen for February 1991. See you in a bit. And we are back. We're back to look at, let's go to the cinema. Let's buy some tickets, get a bit of popcorn, sit down in the front row, let's have a hot dog and see what's going to play in front of us. Well, on the 1st of February, we could have gone and seen Kickboxer 2, The Road Back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have advised it.
No, it's not very good.
No, the opening to this, as the trailer says, better than Kickboxer by the LA Times. That's a low bar to clear.
You're not wrong with that. The thing is, with these things, they're inevitably going to be sequels because as soon as they thought, people like this shit, right, make another one.
Yeah,
it's just that. Exactly. It's the millionaire shortbread of films, isn't it? So, as soon as somebody makes the millionaire shortbread, everyone's like, I like that. Let me make more of that. It's good.
Make more. Make trillionaire shortbread. Billionaire shortbread.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Yeah, this didn't look very good. Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I've seen all the Kickboxer movies. They're all crap.
Yeah.
But Kickboxer at least had the novelty of being...
Is it a Van Damme film?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, the first one. This one didn't know, was it?
No. He'd long since done other crappy movies for that. No, he was asking for more money by this point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kickboxer 2, merde. What you would have said.
They'd have said, Van Damme, that man. He's not having any more money.
Je suis petit pois. It's a little p. Me, big pois.
Me, le grand legume.
Le grand legume. Petit pois movie. C'est la merde.
Indeed. I piss on it with my grand legume.
La banque à la droite.
Tournez à gauche. Tournez à gauche.
I think you would have learned more than tricolor.
Almost too as salt. If you didn't fancy Kickboxer 2, and let's face it, why would you? You could have gone and seen Kindergarten Cop.
You could have gone to see that. Yeah, people did. It was popular, wasn't it?
It was very popular. I mean, Arnie's massive draw at this point, isn't he? I mean,
totally.
Twins, Total Recall. It's a weird arc, this, isn't it? Because he did Twins, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, T2.
He was trying to be varied.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of this? I mean, it's nice. I can take or leave this one. It's got some moments that are quite funny.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, but it's not much.
It's few and far between. It's a bit like the one where he plays, what's it called? The one where he has to get the present for his son at Christmas.
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way is funnier than this, but it's of that ilk. It's sort of funny in moments, but this one doesn't quite hold it together. There's a funny bit where he's got that blade of grass in his mouth and he's sat with him with that sort of hat on, that cowboy hat or whatever it is in there. But it's just mainly about him being funny in front of young kids. And there was a bit of a vibe of this, wasn't there, with all the look who's talking and all that lot. So
and another film we'll see this month as well later on.
Yeah.
With putting actors in front of young kids. But it's not my cup of tea.
No.
After bit disappointed in this after Total Recall, I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. But it was the big muscular action guy in a kind of silly film. Hey, that was the shtick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
They were trying to branch out from it was the 90s, wasn't it? So they had to be a bit more family friendly or whatever.
Exactly. And it's the idea of him, the Terminator, the Total Recall guy or whatever. Teaching
preschoolers.
Teaching kids. And it's just that, that's the comedy, the fish out of water thing again.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey-ho. If you didn't fancy that, then you could have seen Short Time.
Never heard of it.
When a police detective thinks he's dying and learns that his life insurance pays out more if he dies in the line of duty, he tries to make that happen. Dabney Coleman and the late but great Terry Garr star in this. I watched the trailer for it. It's very much of it's basically he's just driving around trying to get himself killed on the job because he wants to
yes.
put so it's look, I don't think I've ever seen it. I think I remember it. I remember the cover.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever watched it. Not really.
No.
Dabney Coleman was he was the boss, wasn't he, in 9 to 5 and things like that.
Yeah. Who's Terry Garr?
Must have an enormous Schwanstucker.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. She died fairly recently then.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. And she's I can't remember a character's name in Close Encounters.
She's his wife. Dabney Coleman. Is he the guy that's in Blazing Saddles as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Hedley Lamar.
That's
Hedley.
I don't think it's Hedley Lamar, no. I think he might. No, who's he? Is he in Blazing Saddles? No, I don't think that's him. He's in, like I said, he's the boss in 9 to 5.
Yeah, I thought that was the same guy. I could be wrong.
No, maybe. I don't think it is. But it's of its ilk. It's just we saw him in something recently where he was the head of a family and everyone hated him, and with some comedy where they all had to stay at his house or something.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean now. Yeah, it's not him.
No, it's not him.
No.
Anyway, that was that. 8th of February. Speaking of stars and children, you could have seen 3 men and a little lady. The first one made lots of money. Well, why? Because the first one made lots of money. So let's age her a little bit and then have some more hijinks with the 3 bachelors. The trailer, opening to the trailer, this means I've never watched this and I never will. They're doing a rap to get to sleep. I was like, no.
It ain't good. No. 3 white middle-aged people rapping as only white middle-aged actors can. And how white middle-aged writers write that kind of thing. Utterly awful. This is their look at. They have to look after the
6-7-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, young, obnoxious brats. Yeah.
I can't stand these films. I just can't stand them. Just never could.
Awful. Is it Ted Danson,
Tom Selleck, and Steve Guttenberg? Who made him a star?
Who made him a star? And how did they cope with his mustache? Tom Selleck's mustache.
I don't know. I just don't know. They could have, if you didn't fancy that, then you could have done what I did. Went to the cinema to see Dances with Wolves.
Yes. Did everyone go and see that at some point, didn't they?
I don't know. I went on my own, I think. Everyone
got sore butt cheeks for a while, didn't they, after that?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, just to sort of say, it's a good film, this. It's A Man Called Horse. It was very similar. It's that kind of story. And then, Fern Gully would do it. Avatar, Last Samurai. Loads more that I can't think of where it's for those who haven't seen Dance with Wolves, it's the outsider joins the big, gets accepted by the tribe and learns their ways and either fights off his own society or whatever. It's that kind of story. Yeah.
Rebels against his own, for the greater good kind of thing.
And there's a big deal made about this. It was Kevin Costner's his first film he directed.
Yeah, it was, I think.
And there was a lot of talk about this, it's 3 hours long.
An Oscar, I think.
3 hours long, I think probably did. And I remember that feeling like a lifetime back then, a 3 hour long film. They even had a break in the middle when I went to the cinema. Now it seems like positively short. It's like,
walk in the park, yeah.
Yes. When is it finished already?
I was just getting into it.
I
was going to make espresso.
But it is a good film, this. I do like it, though. Do you like it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good. Great. I think one of the last great Westerns. There's not been loads of them. There's Unforgiven and there's a few dotted about, but this is one of the last big, great Westerns with the important definition to make here is that the scenery plays a huge part in the film.
Yes.
And in the Sergio Leone tradition, and that's something that's very important for a movie of that type. So it's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've watched it again recently, actually, and I thoroughly enjoyed it then, but it did seem to go past very quickly.
You're used to 3 hour epics, aren't we now? So
I know, it's crazy. Just, I don't know, but there you go. If you didn't fancy Dances with Wolves and you wanted something else that began with D, you could have gone and seen DuckTales, the movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been a DuckTales fan.
No, I've never understood why they marketed the Duck family in this way. But they never did that with Mickey. And I guess it's because the frequency that mice hump one another would mean that Mickey would have hundreds of siblings and none of them would survive. Yeah,
the image of Minnie Mouse eating her children would not be a good one, would it?
Exactly. It's just this blood-covered, soup.
Hey, Minnie, what are you doing?
It's just I imagine this, bowl full of mice parts and there's just little mice nappies and stuff where she's just consumed them out of rage.
They're all little pink things as well, aren't they? At the mice babies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they feed them to snakes, and that's the other thing that would have been amazing, wouldn't it? That's not going to happen to a duck necessarily, a family of ducks, but at some point, a snake would come in and just eat loads of the mice, and that would be quite horrific, wouldn't it?
The Disney you didn't know you wanted.
Just listening to listening to the Mickey's offspring screaming as they were crushed to death in a grip of a snake as it consumed them. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I'm not sure anyone is.
No, but what did you think to this DuckTales movie? Have you ever seen it?
I have. I never really liked the DuckTales movies. I never liked Scrooge McDuck as a character. I thought he was miserable and angry and a stereotypical, horrible sort of. It was a version of a stereotypical Scottish person, which they're not like that. And Huey, Louie, and Louie, Dewey, whatever it was, I just didn't buy them as characters. I don't understand how that family have got so wealthy. I don't get it.
No,
they haven't invented anything. They've not done anything. It's just rich by proxy. Ducks aren't rich. And you know what? I don't get it.
Do you think that Richard Attenborough's guy who played John Hammond in Jurassic Park was based on Scrooge McDuck?
Did he at one point dive into a room full of treasure and spit out coins?
Like, the way when they're having that thing, you remember, I thought it used to these little fleas flapping around. It's like,
you mean for the 5 minutes he had the accent?
Yeah,
I used to have a little flea. My little fleas. That's more Irish, really. Yeah, he was a bit. He went Scottish for about 5 seconds. But like Sean Connery went bloody Spanish and Egyptian in Highlander for a minute. Yeah.
Don't bring Sean Connery back. We've got him later on. We've got a Sean Connery film later on. To be
fair, treasure is the one word he can say well.
We've got a Sean Connery film coming up with a double S.
Treasure of the Lost Lamp. Anyway, DuckTales the movie. No, I don't like the characters. I never liked them. And obviously it spawned a TV series as well and loads of other stuff. And
yeah.
It never appealed to me. The ducks. No.
Many a video game as well.
No, and it's an entire. If you reverse engineer it and you go back in time, at some point, Huey, Louie, and Dewey were eggs. Who was the mother that laid them? What happened to that character?
Daisy. So it's Daisy Duck.
Well, maybe, but there's a backstory. What happened to why? Why is he involved himself in their life? Why aren't they just happy ducks doing their own thing? I don't get it. Why have they turned into adventurers? There's too many questions. It's not worth it. Not worth the effort.
Why do they talk?
Yeah, why do they talk, but Pluto can't, and yet Goofy does?
Ooh,
I
not
don't
very
get
well,
it.
though.
Well, he drives, though. I don't get
it. True, he does. How does he communicate on the phone? He's got to go
How did he pass his test? How the hell did he pass his driving test?
Yeah, how did he pass his oral bit?
Because he went, well, all right, I'll take that as you mean that's the oil filter. All right, okay.
15th of Feb. Good Lord. 15th of February. You could have seen Men at Work.
Yeah,
Two garbage men uncover a conspiracy involving illegal toxic waste dumping and decide to bring the whole operation down.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a comedy with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez to me.
Yeah, they were actors of their time. And
He's
this film did them no
at the
favours.
moment.
Yeah, but this film didn't do them any favours. This was the problem with it, I think.
Bit of a flop on it.
It was. And because it wasn't very good. It wasn't very funny. It proved that there was no real... I mean, I watched it not that long ago, actually, purely because I thought it was a completely different film. But I watched it and I just thought that wasn't very good. And I was right. It wasn't.
Yeah. I should hope you know your own opinion after watching it.
Well, it didn't convince me otherwise.
And I was right. The trailer's terrible for this.
It's so bad.
And I'd expect it to be exactly what it looks like. Not very good.
All these trailers are crap, in all fairness. Most of them.
Yeah, true. If you didn't fancy Men at Work, then you could have seen The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. A vulgar private detective is hired to find a missing groupie and is drawn into a mystery involving a series of murders tied to the music industry. This was Andrew Dice Clay movie, wasn't it?
It was.
You've written some stuff here, so I'll let you talk about it, but I just remember it being a bit controversial. I can't remember much.
It was controversial. I mean, for starters, the film was quite funny in places, actually. And the Dice Man of the Dice part of Andrew Dice Clay was a character that he played. And like a lot of these characters, he played a character that was quite brash, rude, sexist, racist, arguably, and he was kind of a very stereotypical, almost, I want to say, Italian, New York style kind of bada boom, bada bing, kind of, that kind of character. It was a character, though. But he was considered very controversial because he played that character that well, that he was probably one of the earliest victims of what is now something we call cancel culture. So the film was a flop.
It was critically panned, but he was absolutely ostracized for the Dice Man persona, which was arguably, his act was full of kind of racist, arguably racist, I suppose is what you'd say, and arguably sexist statements. That was the character. That wasn't who he was as a person. And he makes a point of saying this in several interviews, that though I'm just playing a character. The character of Dice Man is this character. People really like the character, but that isn't who I am. And that I became popular for that character is great. But don't judge me by I'm not homophobic, I'm not misogynistic, I'm not any of those things. That was just a character I played. But that distinction was something that simply didn't get the airtime. In the end, he got banned from MTV and loads of other SNL. He got banned from SNL. He got banned from MTV for life for doing part of his act as Dice Man when he did some kind of awards show, I think. And also people like Sinead O'Connor refused to attend SNL and a few shows if he was present. He got a really bad reputation. Now, his comedy is very controversial and of its time and of that type that, nowadays we look at it with a modern lens and we think, you can't say that and you can't do that. And that's probably very true. However, if you think about the way Ricky Gervais and people, comedians like that are currently portraying themselves. So they stand and say, I am telling jokes and these are not who I am. I am just telling you jokes. I am not expressing facts and nor am I expressing real opinions. These are just humorous jokes. If you don't get the joke and you're offended, that's on you. And I think that's really where he was coming at, because he does there's two things I'd recommend you watch. There's a really good interview where he gets interviewed about his critics, which he sort of explains about the act, and it's just an act. And then there's a really, really sad appearance where he's on the Arsenio Hall show, which is actually quite a hard watch, where he kind of breaks down when he's on the show while he's almost performing his act, trying to explain, because his career was ruined and his entire act was ruined and his livelihood gone. And he's trying to explain that it was just an act and it wasn't really him. It was just pretending to be somebody. And he's in tears at one point. It's quite a hard watch. I don't know whether the jury's out on whether he was hard done to and whether the critics are right about it or anything else. The long and the short of the film is that there is some quite funny moments in it here and there, but it's an odd film, very much like it's a classic film of that type. There's a bit like The Last Boy Scout. There's a vibe, and there's another film called The Marlboro Man, something in the Marlboro Man.
I always associate this with Harley Davidson and The Marlboro Man.
Yeah, and they're very, very
Johnson
similar.
Film. Don
yeah,
Johnson,
exactly. And they're very similar vibes to them all. I think this one is not one that everyone's going to remember fondly, and he isn't a character that's going to be people are going to remember fondly. But you know what? There's a really good website which is all about it's comedyhistory101.com. There's a really long history of the Andrew Dice Clay controversy on there. It's really worth to read, because I think the mistake that you would be wrong to make is that he was a racist that became popular, and that's not the case. He was a character called Dice Man who became popular for being totally at odds with the way that people would think, and he got completely shut down for that by the media, and who simply would not let it go. And I think we see a lot of that nowadays, don't we? So I think it's interesting.
Fair enough. Yeah, I knew there was something about him. I just didn't really know what.
Yeah, yeah. Not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, there is the argument with people like Ricky Gervais that they say what they're doing, but they're just punching downwards, which is never a good thing for a comedian to do.
Maybe that's true, but there is an argument they are just making jokes. And also, Andrew Dice Clay does appear in Amazon Women on the Moon, and we've got to forgive him a little bit for that. So,
is he the one who comes in to see Ray?
Yeah, it's Raggy.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought better of you, Ray.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
What I wanted you to think.
I remember it being. I remember us watching it and thinking it was all right at the time. I've never watched it since, so I couldn't say again. If you didn't fancy either of that, then you could have seen To Sleep with Anger.
You could have.
This is some kind of Danny Glover film. It's a really weird trailer for this.
It's really weird.
It just starts off going, recently I made a film called To Sleep with Anger. And it reminded me of the bit from Amazon Women on the Moon, to mention it again. Every 7 minutes, a black bum with no soul. I'm B.B. King. But it just reminded me of that.
Won't you please give?
Yeah. Don No Soul Simmons. Never seen it, though, so I couldn't mention the film. 22nd of February, though, there was The Grifters.
Yeah. If you see it, I've never seen it, so I don't know if it's good.
I remember watching it at the time. I've not seen it since, though. John Cusack, I was always a bit of a fan of John Cusack. I'd watched stuff that he was in at the time. I thought he was
he's
quite a cool character, John Cusack. He's always kind of a bit cool in his films. So this is a small-time conman has torn loyalties between his estranged mother and new girlfriend, both of whom are high-stakes grifters with their own angles to play. It was one of those. It would go on, I think the next one he'd do with that, what's the one, Where's the Hitman? With
Gross Point Blank is a great film.
Gross Point Blank, yeah. That's similar. I think it's not quite like that, but it's similar.
He's
sort
good
of
in
thing.
High Fidelity as well, isn't he? He's good in that as well.
Yeah, he's just got a way about him, John Cusack. I mean, it's odd watching him in 2012.
Yeah, it's a bit weird in that.
It's just a, you know.
My sister always thought you looked like and sounded like him.
What, John Cusack?
Yeah, she always thought you was a bit John Cusack-y. Yeah, you had a bit of the Cusack going on.
I'll take that.
Yeah, she did. She always thought that, yeah.
I always thought it was cool, John Cusack. So
she also thought you had really smelly farts, but
she's not wrong on both counts.
She's exactly. It's funny how accurate people can be.
Absolutely. I give with one hand and take away with the other.
It wasn't the hand you gave it with. That was wafting it.
It wasn't even a hand I rocked the cradle with.
It was not. That was just pure bass.
If you didn't fancy that, then you could have seen Pacific Heights.
Oh dear. Okay.
Have you seen this? I remember this as a decent thriller.
Yeah, decent enough thriller, yeah.
Decent enough thriller. It reminded me of that script, that Landlord that we planned.
It was, yeah. With its evil acts of sock mutilation. Yeah.
Cutting all the middles out of his bread.
Cutting the middles out of his bread. He cut all the ends off his socks, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to describe any more context to that. We'd written like was it a pressy? Was it a, what do you call it?
Synopsis.
We wrote synopsis of a. Was it a film play? What the hell was it?
It was going to be like a short film.
Short film about a landlord that was terrorising his residents. And oddly, there's a couple of films that came out that were a bit like that. This is probably one of them, wasn't it? Pacific Heights. We weren't influenced by it at the time, but
yeah, yeah, no, we weren't. If you didn't fancy that, there was The Field, when a field which has been found by the McCabe family for generations goes up for auction. The patriarch of the McCabe family will stop at nothing to prevent a rich American from buying it. So this is an Irish film. It's got Richard Harrison. I already mentioned him, with A Man Called Huss. But this trailer, and I'm not knocking it, this could be no more Irish. This trailer,
it's as Irish as it gets, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I was like, wow.
It starts off with that Irish sound. It's just that immediately. I was half expecting the cast of Riverdance to come clumping through at some point.
Yeah, it's very Irish, which is fine. No, it can be Irish. I mean, but you know, but I'm not going to say what you've written.
Yes, I've written, just so we're clear, that I thought it's filmed entirely in diddly dodly vision. Oh.
Jesus.
Because it was. I'm just paraphrasing the accents that are in that trailer, of which there are a lot of probably not Irish people, which is nowadays you'd get Irish people to do this. But back then, there's maybe one or two, and the rest of the cast are all hoying up the Irish with a hoy diddly doy, aren't they? And get to be soda fired because I need my potatoes and all that. It's like, let's lay off let's slow down there on the. We don't need to be that Irish. Just chill out.
Can you dial the Irish back?
Yeah, because it's more Irish than it is in than the Irish guy in Back to the Future. In the because he plays McFly, Marty McFly. I'm the Irish McFly from McFly Land in North Ireland. It's like, come on. I'm going to wear a bowler hat because I'm Irish. Did you not know I'm Irish? I thought I'd tell you. Stop with the Irish late. It's okay. It's cool. But just, let's just chill out a bit here.
You ever seen the film, though? The Field?
I have seen the film, actually. Yeah, I remember it being quite good, actually, in all fairness.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is
heartwarming, as I recall.
Yeah, probably, yeah. If you didn't fancy that, then there is Sean Connery in The Russia House.
Russia House. Yeah, you can say that one.
Russia. Can you? Yeah, you can say that, can't you, Sean?
You can say. Yeah, can you say Russia House? Russia House. That'll do.
The house. Yeah. Can you say house? House.
House. Oh, all right. Okay. Can you say mouse? Mouse. Oh, it's not. All right.
Mickey Mouse. A British publisher has sent a manuscript detailing Soviet Union nuclear missile capabilities. British intelligence intercepted a recruiter to investigate the author's editor, a beautiful Russian woman he claims never to have met.
A beautiful Russian woman played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, yeah.
As American as apple pie.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yes.
Who no doubt talks with the token Russian accent. She does all the R on all her R's.
Probably. I think I've seen it. I think it's all right. To be fair, though, I might watch that again.
Yeah, Martin Clunes I spotted in that trailer there. Young Martin Clunes in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. From Men Behaving Badly, he's in there.
Oh, yeah, might include, yeah. Yes, he would have been, yeah.
Yes,
if you didn't fancy that, then the last film of the month is Meet the Applegates.
Oddball thing, that.
Yeah, modelling themselves after an idyllic cookie-cutter suburban 1950s family, a colony of insects moved from South America into the United States with the intent of getting access to the nation's nuclear resources.
A very strange film. Meet the Applegates. It's got, what's his name on it? And
Ed Begley Jr.
Ed Begley Jr. That's it. Yeah.
Dabney Coleman again.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I remember it being quite quirky and quite unusual of that time, where there was a lot of films that were kind of quirky and unusual around that time, weren't they?
Yeah.
So it always felt to me a bit like I don't know. There's a few other films that are like it, I suppose. Just there's an ilk of those films.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm pretty sure this probably is, but this must have been things like Coneheads, which came later.
Yeah,
93.
totally.
So that was done, and then obviously, I think the biggest one I thought of was this. When I watched this, I was like, "Oh, it's Third Rock from the Sun."
Yeah, completely, 1,000,000,000% Third Rock from the Sun. Totally that. A family of insert things that they're not doing and talking to each other in funny voices. Yeah, totally. It's totally Third Rock from the Sun, which is a very good show as well, by the way.
Yeah, it was very funny, that. But yeah, I can see. I don't know if there's probably. I mean, I don't know. I suppose
there's loads of films that came around that time that had this kind of odd, quirky style to them. Jeff Goldblum is normally in films like that.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, because there was that other one, Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
That one. I mean, you could go back to things like, I suppose, Stepford Wives and stuff like that, couldn't you? I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be an independent studio production as well at the time. They had this kind of vibe, and they were making a bit of a resurgence at this point because there was a bit of a backlash against the really big studio movies. And so your smaller indie studios were sort of, well, the producers, the indie producers, not so much the publishers and the distributors, but...
Yeah, it was production companies Cinemac Entertainment and New World Pictures. There you go. Anyway, that's it. That's your cinema. Not great. It's February, isn't it? Everyone's staying home. No one's got any money. Everyone's staying at home.
Exactly.
No good video games to play. Everyone's playing Turrican.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
That's what's going on, Turrican 2.
Because what you pointed out the other week, actually, was that there was the Amiga's coming into its kind of superpower at the moment. I think Alien Breed comes out in 1991 on the Amiga. So the Amiga's finding its feet now a little bit. So there's probably a bit of that going on.
And it's weird to think that at this point, the Amiga is 6 years old.
Exactly, yeah. You'd think it'd be spent. But no, there's more meat in them claws.
The Amiga clackers. Clack, clack, clack. Come on, get some more meat out of those clackers. On that note, I'm going to say we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We've still got 2 games to get through for February 1991 and some crap verts and charts. We do. And then see what's going on next month. So please do stay with us. I'll see you in a moment. All right, we're back for the final part of February 1991. And Graham, it's over to you to tell us about the first game. This is more cartridge nonsense. This is Cyberball.
Yes, it's Cyberball, isn't it? £19.99 for this.
Bloody hell.
78% it got. Okay. And the publisher was Domark. And they're back with yet another Atari game. Oh, Tengen. The developer this time, though, was Quixel. That's not a person. That's a place or a team. The coder was Christopher West. He did Risk and License to Kill, so he's all right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Graphics are Anthony West. No relation. They're just directionally the same.
They're directionally similar. They always want to go that way. Should we go? South? No.
They're always going to go west. Go west.
Where are the Wests? Where do you think? Watching Dancing with Wolves again.
Exactly. He did ATF. He also did Risk and Shaylin's Road. Do you remember that? Shaylin's Road.
It was rubbish, wasn't it?
Graphics weren't great, no. And the musician was Matt Furness. He did Tubin and The Shoe People. I like to credit him for that one. He probably hates me for that, but I like to credit him for that. So Cyberball then, or as it's called in Japan, Cyberboru, is a video game released in the arcades in 1988 by Atari, of course. The game is a 7-man American football game using robotic avatars of different speeds and sizes and skills and set in the year 2022. Well, did they get that wrong?
That's aged well.
Originally released to the arcade, Cyberball was ported to several home consoles and computers, of which I'm not going to go through the list, but the few. In 1988, Atari released the original Cyberball arcade game as a large cabinet with 2 monitors, each with 2 sets of controls for 1 or 2 players. Players on each side could play against computer opponents or head-to-head on opposing monitors for a maximum of 4 players. The maths of that will drive you crazy. Try not to think about it too heavily.
Okay.
So this game starts with a reasonable title screen, and then we get into really busy screens.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Loads and loads of busyness. So at its heart, this game is an American football game, essentially, but played with robots that don't function very well in the realm of American football. When the game starts, you're presented with a very busy screen, and it's a little bit complicated to navigate your way around. And by that, because this game is principally all joystick navigation for everything. So It starts off, you've got all the credits and everything else. It tells you, for some reason, it tells you the Amiga PC and Spectrum credits as well on this. I don't quite know what the purpose of that is. They're never going to see them, are they?
Never.
You can choose 1 player or 2 player. So you can play this 2 player, I guess. I played it 1 player. I don't know how that would work. I did play it 1 player. Now, I have to tell you at this point, by the way, I was playing, obviously, the cartridge version, and I don't know when I started the game whether I was still playing 1 player or 2 player. The jury's bloody out on that one. No idea. It said on the left-hand side at the bottom, it says player 1, fire to play. On the other side, it says player 2, fire to play. Now, I thought maybe that means joystick port 1 is fire for 1 player. No. So I just pressed fire in port 2, and I think I was playing a 2-player game. It's not very clear. On Lemon, it seemed to indicate that there is no 1-player game on this. It's all 2-player. So maybe I was actually playing both halves, which means I was equally crap at either end of the game.
The player who wasn't me was really good then.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I'm guessing that, this was going to be an interesting challenge. After you've chosen that, you can choose then which I guess difficulty really, but which league or division you're going to be in. There's the Los Angeles Assassins, and it says their strength and their balance is they've got a strength and balance game. I'm not sure what that referred to really. It's difficult to know. I didn't have a lot of instructions for this as such. I had like an instruction sheet, which was okay, but it wasn't in of itself. It was the Spectrum instructions, and they were okay. They had some kind of variation of what it's all about. But they weren't, I felt maybe they weren't complete because it sort of was a little bit vague. The blurb for this says that Cyberball, it says the year is 2022. Robot 5 times the size of humans built to withstand the violence and destruction, battle it out head to head. Metal on metal to fight it to the finish. Cyberball is a game for 1 or 2 players based loosely on American football. Loosely? Really? I would say identically, really.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
By the 21st century, all humans have been eliminated from the game, and you as a team captain take control of the robots, selecting from teams like the Los Angeles Assassins and the Dallas Destroyers. It's just American football with robots is still American football, though.
Yeah. It
says features of the game. Team captains select offensive and defensive plays, just like they do in American football. Timeouts, passes, laterals, blitzes, and replacements for weak or demolished players. Highlights players are controlled by the team captains, but watch out. A damaged player who will fumble or could explode in possession. Control is via the joystick or keyboard. First, select which teams you play. In offensive mode, select running, pass. And then it says Cyberball features. Touchdowns are scored by the crossing. It's an American football game played with robots in it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't need to go into more detail than that. What does it look like then? So aside from the fairly boring, weirdly, it says the Kremlin at the top of the Domark graphics in title loading screen. I'm not sure what that's all about. It seems confused. Then you get, like I said, that weird title screen, which is just text in the middle and then kind of a sort of a square effect around the edges and a bit of a UI on there. Then you get to choose, like I said, the instructional division. Now, you can go for the pro division where you can play the San Francisco Hitmen, and these are on the points of the joystick, so you can choose left, right, and the angles. But you get a timer. I hate that. Don't give me a timer to select things, and I need time to digest. I know it's based on an arcade game, but don't give me... No, I need time to digest it. Now, I did look at the arcade game as well of this, and the key difference here is the arcade game has actually got a kind of a 3D effect on it, on the sort of pitch. So you play at kind of an elevated 3D angle. This doesn't have any of that as such.
Right.
It's more of a forced 2D perspective, really.
Yeah.
So as the countdown ticks away, you can be the Miami Terminators, the Dallas Destroyers, Chicago Killers, San Francisco Hitmen. You're getting the idea that they've upped the ante on the dangerous naming of the teams, considering it's the Chicago Bulls or the Denver Broncos or the New York Giants.
Denver Broncos.
I'm going to have to see them soon. Anyway, that's by the way. Huh? So once you've gone through that and you've selected, then it's game time. And so the way that the game works is exactly as you would imagine an American football game of this type works. You basically choose your running play, pass play, or whatever kind of play you're going to be, depending on whether you're offense or defense at the time. Then you get, and this is done with the joystick directions and with the icons on the screen, similar to the other American football game we looked at some time ago, but not as good.
Yeah.
then in this busy display, because at the top of the screen, you've got this busy array of text all over the shop. There's text everywhere on this, in little boxes all over the shop. It's actually quite hard to sort of read and navigate, visually.
Yep.
At the top, you've got your timer, then you've got your scores, then you've got your names of your team. Then underneath that, you've got the various different options, and there's just text all over the shop. It's all a bit messy. Once you've decided on the kind of play, you'll then get to choose the kind of, is it the theatrical play? What kind of play you have? So if you've chosen a pass play, you'll then get 4 options of 4 kinds of pass play you can choose from. And in that vein, so there's a launch pad, there's one called the double A. Obviously, they all have names, the shotgun and the old money and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then the play will then act out in the game window. The game window itself, it actually doesn't look too bad for this kind of thing. You've got most of the team sprites are on there. They're all, in this time, they're all little different variations of robots, of course. And it's played out on an American football pitch. So you're playing American football with the robots. The snap begins, and then your play will activate, and you control whichever player is, normally the quarterback, at least as far as I could ascertain.
Yeah.
And then you can choose to throw it either throw it. If it's a passing play, they'll pick it up if you catch it, which you won't. Or if you can try and do a running play and try and run through their players, which you won't be able to do. And so that's the mainstay of the game. Now, the key problems with this are that it plays like an American football game. Number one, way too difficult. Now, choosing the elements of play, once you get used to it, fine. But it's very busy on the eye. And it's not always clear what they're going to be because they don't play out in the game like they kind of should. They're really slow and sluggish. The ball, such as it is, gets passed back to you, and then you kind of trundle around as a robot on like a treadmill or like a caterpillar tracks. It's a bit like number 5 has just been given the ball from that movie, and he's like trundling along, and then before you know it, the other robots, the blue robots of the opposing team, just smash immediately into you, and it's like that's it. They don't necessarily get the ball as such as it is, but they immediately stop the play, and then you can then choose again whether you want to do a timeout, whether you want to do which kind of play, and if it's and it plays like an American football innings. So over the 4 times to try and get to the yardage. If you don't get that, then it's going to be a changeover to the other team, and and it's just American football. My problem with this was that it wasn't very enjoyable as an American football game because it lacked the speed of American football that it needed to be actually effective at what it was doing. The idea of throwing a ball and the idea of words like the snap and a passing play is that it's a bit breakneck. You get a second to think about it. The play should have just happened, and the passing play should have happened. You shouldn't have taken control of the quarterback and had to throw the ball. That should have happened in this game. You should have been controlling the player that got the ball and ran with it, or you should control the player that was trying to tackle their way through if that was the play that you played. And it felt to me like they added complication in, but slowly, so you couldn't really move your people into the position you needed them to be in. The opposing players arguably at the same speed as you, but I felt that they were all a bit faster. I could not get away from them. Even if I managed to get past them as the offensive line and was just thought, I'm going to just run to the end zone. They managed to catch up to me and get me, and there was no way I was doing it. Now, I know the robots have apparently different abilities and things like that. All of that was kind of lost on me a little bit, I have to be honest. I just felt like I'd never played or heard of this game at all, ever, even on the arcade. I'd never heard of it. So this was a conversion of a game that probably didn't need to be converted again. No. The idea of the arcade is that it's got these 2 big screens and you're playing in opposition, a bit like you would in battleships. And those things work when you've got 2 big screens and you're not looking at the same screen together. The 2-player variation of this means you're locked into a very small screen. It's all a bit slow and sluggish and doesn't respond very well. That was my other big complaint, is that when I'm running about, the controls and the joystick were really slow. It felt sluggish. Now, you can't be called the Los Angeles Assassins and be really slow, can you? Or the New York Enforcers or whatever. It just felt like lots of preparation had gone into getting you to the game, and then they just thought, it's all a bit pedestrian and a bit ploddy and a bit unnecessary and a bit thankless because there was no the razzmatazz was missing. This was no Saturday Night Football or whatever that game was it? It was nothing like that.
No.
No. There's been way better American football games. The novelty of it being played with robots is neither here nor there. That's lost on a non-arcade. So this may as well have been an American football game, and probably, if they'd have upped the speed, would have been quite a good one. But because it has that sluggish play, because the robots seem incapable of doing anything apart from just running into each other at about 3 yards off the snap, you can't get anywhere in the game. I'd never scored a touchdown. I don't think I got anywhere near. So I just felt like the odds were against me in this game, and I rapidly lost my patience with it, and therefore any interest that I had in it. I tried all sorts of different plays. In fact, I think I pretty much tried every play, every pass play, every running play, and I could get nowhere. And then when it came to the defensive line, no chance. The guy was like, the robot was clearly had some kind of nitro injection up its arse, because it was like on fire compared to my speed. I'm like, and it just seemed to know what direction I was going to go no matter what I did. But clearly it's because as soon as I went right, it was like, right, I'm going that way. And in this sluggish time for me to react, not that my reaction times are very fast, but it was just the game didn't respond quickly enough to make it really a fair play. And so maybe 2-player would probably been the way to go with this, which is what the arcade was designed for. 1-player on this was a bit of a washout. And I don't know that if you and I had sat down and got through all those busy screens and shows all the plays and faffed about. Bear in mind, by the way, that when the disc version which I played for this was a cartridge, fair enough. But the cartridge version I had crashed out at a certain point, so I opted to go back to the disc version.
Yeah.
And every single independent screen between each thing was a load, everything. So it was a load for each of the passing play, then it was another load, then it was another load, and then you had to load the play each time. And it just got to be too much. I'm like, on cartridge, maybe that was passable. Disc, it wasn't. But this was, an arcade game that who the hell wanted this anyway? I don't know anybody that would have gone, you know what, Cyberball needs to be done. So I didn't think much to it. There's loads of better American football games that are actual American football. Go and play 4th and Inches, for goodness sake, and leave this well behind. What about you?
Yeah, why is this on a cartridge? I mean, this version, it's not particularly fast, but it's not terrible. We've played a lot worse. That TV Sports Football was a bit worse, but it's perfectly it's all right. But why is it on a cart? Why is this 20 quid? But not that I particularly wanted to play it, because Robot American Football, I mean, I guess it's novel. It kind of looks
speed,
all right. It's got a nice looks, all right. But the actual playing of the American football is usually over in seconds before you're making another attempt at failure. That's what I found with this game. You're just failing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just me. Clearly, you had the same problem, so it's not just me.
Too difficult.
I think if I want to play American football, then there are plenty of decent versions of that on the machine. 4th and Inches, TV Sports, there's loads of them. So what does this offer? Robots. But they don't use the robots in any meaningful way.
No.
Indeed, they lessen the options because they all run on tracks, so you can't punt or do field goals.
No. There you go.
So I don't understand this really. There's less game here. There's less American football. Just make an American football game if you're not going to do anything interesting with the fact they're robots and it's in the future. Well, in the past, but in the future then. I don't get it. There's loads of scope to go crazy with robots playing American football. Look what they did with Blood Bowl, and that, they're using fantasy creatures and things like that. Robots in American football, you go, oh, well, that could be really interesting. You've got power arms and sprinty legs and, elasto legs that, thingy legs like Mr. What's his face? Inspector Gadget legs and stuff to catch really high balls. You could do loads of crazy shit. What do they do? Nothing. They put them on treadmills, and your description of Johnny Five plays American football is apt. That's what this is. Yeah. It's Johnny Five is sacked. That's basically what this game is.
It is, yeah.
Does nothing. It's really frustrating when they've got that idea and they do nothing with it. I don't get it. I don't see the point of this. I literally don't. Robots playing American football should be, all right, that sounds like it could be a lot of fun,
Yeah, should be fun.
But it's just American football. So you just made an American football game. So make an American football game.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yep.
Calling it Cyberball doesn't help either, because it's just American bloody football.
Yeah. It is. Just call it American football with robots then.
Yeah.
Robo balls.
Yeah. Fucking Cyberball. Oh, no. I didn't like this. I'd just go play 4th and Inches or something, which is better. And like you said, because it was so slow, it's too hard.
Yeah.
So, bah to it all. Bah.
Bah, I say.
Bah. Let's move on. We've still got one more game this month. Please let it be a good one. And that game is Edd the Duck. Proving they'll license just about anything for a game back then. We had the game based around Edd the Duck. Although that did lead me to think that they did do a game based on Gilbert and Roland Rat.
Yeah, why not do on a hand puppet, another hand puppet?
So,
and Sooty, and Rupert, I suppose.
Yeah, so it's not the first one, I guess, yeah. So for those who have no idea who Edd the Duck was, and if you're probably not from the UK, you probably don't, I'll just quote from the wiki. Edd the Duck, spelt with 2 Ds, it was originally Edd the Duck with 1 D, is a puppet duck featured on the CBBC interstitial programme, The Broom Cupboard, alongside presenters Andy Crane and Andy Peters. So it was basically a hand puppet, and you talk to him and whatever. Edd the Duck first appeared in late 1988 with a bald head, which later received a green woolen mohawk made from an old Blue Peter punk teddy by Mackay Robinson. The character frequently expressed a desire to become a presenter on Blue Peter. His co-star and rival was Wilson the Butler, a character shown only through his visible arms. There you go. That's Edd the Duck. So a children's puppet, which made me think, actually, why did we never get a Basil Brush game?
Good question.
Why did we not? But puppet... No. Turn into a game. £9.99, though, this. Seems tad high for the prospective audience, I'm thinking.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, they're not going to buy that, though.
No, but let's see if the game justifies it. So this led me down a bit of a rabbit hole, this bit. This was published by Impulse. That's Impulse with a Z for a bit of 90s edginess. They go on to publish Neighbours and Round the Bend.
Oh,
it was coded by Ian Copeland, no relation to Stuart, with graphics by Richard Beston and music is by Adam Gilmore. We've seen these three together before. They did Blinky's Scary School, Mountain Bike Racer, Naked Sunrise Riding.
Now. With Blinky, that makes sense now.
Yeah, among others. And Adam Gilmore's done decent music for loads of things before, so that we know these guys. So interestingly, just a sort of a sidebar here, Impulse is the full price arm of Zeppelin Games.
Right. Okay.
Which is, and the story of Zeppelin Games is actually pretty interesting. They were formed by a guy called Brian Joblin. He was just 17 years old in 1987 when he formed them. He'd been making games for the Atari Spectrum, C64 and Amstrad from the age of 14.
Wow, okay.
They were bought in 1994 by Merit Studios, becoming Merit Studios Europe, before they became Eutechnics. I never knew they were Eutechnics in 1996. Wow. Making games like Total Driving. I loved Total Driving on the PlayStation. They did Motor Mash, 007 Racing, loads of other
loads of racing games. Yeah,
loads of racing. Yeah, Eutechnics. They're Zeppelin.
Wow. Okay, I saw them at Games Horizon. I would have met them then.
Yeah, that's these guys. Zeppelin, crazy. Yeah, I know. Anyway, Edd the Duck. There's a story here which goes thus: Edd the Duck. Actually, it says, for some reason, it says games play instead of gameplay. Edd the Duck has to outmaneuver his opposition as he travels upwards through the bowels of the BBC. To help him succeed, the special effects boffins have developed a snowball shooter, which Edd can use to freeze his opponents for short periods of times. Pressing fire allows Edd to throw a snowball. On each scene, Edd has to collect all of the 20 stars before he can progress to the next episode. If he falls or fails, I can't remember, the filming must stop and Edd loses one of his 4 takes. Read lives. Edd has to collect stars from the following departments in the television centre, whilst avoiding Wilson, the butler, and his cronies. The scenes are weather, special effects, and children's TV. Each of these sections comprises 3 separate levels. There you go.
Okay.
So the game was released across all the usual formats at the time: Amiga, ST, Amstrad Spectrum, and of course the C64. And they're all pretty much the same game as far as I can see. There's an odd loading screen which reveals Wilson the butler to be some terrifying Pennywise-like mime creature reaching out for a well-drawn Edd. It's a good loading screen, but good lord, no wonder he's his arch enemy. He looks terrifying.
It's scary.
And when the game loads, we get the usual Zeppelin level of polish. Good title screen, images of Edd, and a logo. Some credits, cycling to a high score table, and a solid piece of music. It's very jolly, sets a good tone for the game itself. It's a bit short, but it's bouncy and what the game needs. It fits the game, suitably sort of happy, I guess. Pressing fire starts the game, and we get a clapper board with Edd on it and told to get ready for the level 1. There's a massive raster glitch across the top of the screen for some reason.
Yeah, there was at that point, wasn't there? It was a bit weird.
I don't know why, because it's just a blue screen. I don't know why you would even have a raster split.
Very strange.
I don't know whether it's something to do with the music. I have no idea. The game starts, though, and what we get here is Rainbow Islands. Or at least a very watered-down version of Rainbow Islands, but a game that basically takes its cues from Rainbow Islands. The UI at the bottom has a couple of Edd the Duck heads on either side, left and right. And from left to right, we have your score, the take you are on, your lives are takes, and then the number of stars left remaining to collect in the level. This takes up the bottom 5 characters or so, character rows or so, and the game takes up the rest of the screen. The graphics for this are a weird mix of standard medium-res sprites and backgrounds for some parts of it, and high-res single-colour sprites and backgrounds for others. It's a weird mismatch. And this mismatch is an odd mix. It's a weird-looking game, this, in the way it sort of mixes these styles. So when the game starts, Edd itself is a actually decent-looking sprite. Looks like a C64 version of Edd the Duck. I quite liked it. It's like, yeah, that looks like Edd the Duck. Cool.
Yeah.
There are some medium-res bumblebees floating about to avoid, and the platforms are similar style. There's some stars around the place as well. You've got to just go jump around and collect them. Go up, though, and the screen starts to scroll upwards, so we suddenly enter high-res areas with a single-colour fish and high-res platforms. Like I said, it's a really odd mix. I don't know why they did it. When the medium-res stuff looks fine. I think maybe should have just stuck with one style. I don't know. Anyway, controls are left and right to move, up and diagonals to jump, and fire to shoot the snow gun. It does say in the instructions that bottom left and bottom right move Edd downwards, but it doesn't really work that way. I couldn't actually do anything with those, so I don't know whether that was in the Spectrum version or not. The gun will fire a snowball, and if you shoot the enemies, it freezes them for a limited time. Doesn't kill them, just freezes them. Which this allows you to move past them and through them safely. But be careful, because they can just come alive, and if you're in contact with them, lose a take. The object of the game is to climb the vertical scrolling levels, Rainbow Island style, except it's not just to get to the top. You've got to collect all the stars on the way up. You don't collect them all on the way up, you have to come back down. That's tricky. If you do that, though, if you collect all the stars, it's basic platform. It's a single vertical scrolling thing. There's lots of platforms. You move on to the next one. The first 3 levels are in the weather department and have various weathers as you go up the levels, from sort of starting on sunny, sandy beaches, and you get the kind of all the things that you'd expect from that. And as you move up, you go into wintry, snowy landscapes, and, it's quite cool. The graphics on this are actually pretty good, despite being an odd mix. Some nice, decent stuff in the background. The second section of 3 levels is the special effects, and that sees us traversing levels with rockets and aliens and spacemen in the background, kind of Doctor Who style monsters and stuff wandering about and things like that. Get past these 3, and we're on to children's TV, similar to the first 2 levels in colour and style, only with like Jack in the Boxes and letter cubes in the background and things like that. It looks like kids' playground, so think play school type stuff. It's that sort of thing. But it does we're back to having the same enemies as the first 3 levels though, so the bumblebees, the fish, the weird stuff like that. Collect all the stars in these 3 levels, and then you complete the game. Well done. Not much of an ending, but that's kind of it. So that's it. This is very simplified Rainbow Islands in that you can run around, you can jump, and you can shoot snowballs. There's no no rainbows or anything like that. It's not terrible, this. And as a simplified Rainbow Island style vertical scrolling platformer, it's pretty well done. Problem is, it's not worth $9.99. That's being charged for it, I don't think.
No.
There simply is not enough to really do, and it really needed some extra stuff for you to do to justify that price tag. So extra abilities, power-ups, more things to collect, so on and so on and so forth. A bit more variety. The kind of things we've come to expect from this kind of game at this price. It's arcade-like, but it's budget-like as well. This would have made an amazing budget title, I think, because at that price, the lack of variety, it wouldn't have bothered you quite so much. And that 9 levels to go at, this would have been great. As a budget title, $2.99, this would have been a cracker. It would have been like, oh, that's great value for money, 9 levels. You don't mind the fact that it's just run and jump and throw snowballs and free stuff, and that's all you can do, and there's no power-ups or anything. It's just a budget game. You get what you get. There are some issues, though. The controls are a bit annoying. You can't control your jump. We've seen that you can in recent games. So you basically, once you start jumping to the left or right, you are jumping to the left or right till you either miss a platform, land on a platform, or whatever. So that can lead to some annoying deaths, especially when jumping scrolls the screen up and you fly straight to a bad guy and you can't control yourself. It's also not entirely clear always. You can sort of land on platforms that you don't expect to.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. You're thinking like, I'll jump up. Oh, I'm on a platform. Oh, I didn't expect to be there. Where am I? So I need to kind of work out. Yeah, it's a bit odd in that it doesn't kind of, not as bad as Night Shift was the other week, but not, it's not terrible. It's all right. But it's also, I thought, quite a punishing game. A lot of enemies milling about, and not being able to control Edd with the subtlety that is asked of you will lead to lots of deaths and frustration. I found this quite hard because you're just not in control enough. And so, it's a bit of a shame. There is a decent little game here. Despite the clash of styles, I thought the visuals, they're still pretty decent. The 2 styles are still well done. It's just odd to see them work together like that. The music and sound effects are good. With a little attention to the controls, give you a bit of, give you control in the jumping. Maybe just, for a tenner, some additional power-ups, different weapons, different ways to sort of combat the enemies, things like that. Just different power, even if it was just a Mario-style star to make you invulnerable for a little while, to sort of let you run around a bit and stuff like that, and a bit of music to do that kind of thing would have helped. Wouldn't have asked for much, but just that sort of is. Or, either that or drop the price. Made this a great budget title. As it is, it's neither one nor the other. It's stuck in some middle ground of feeling like a budget game at full price. And it's too punishing and too expensive for its target audience. Who's buying Edd the Duck? It's for kids. It's going to be for kids.
Yeah.
And they're going to be, at this stage, the C64's repertoire is budget titles. So this should have been, when this comes out, this will get re-released in a year or two on the Zeppelin label, and it'll be more suitable. In the here and now, I get £10 because they've obviously had to pay for the license, but there's just not enough content here to justify it. It's well put together. The licenses hurt it, I think. Oh, and just a weird addendum. I didn't mind this game, but just as a weird addendum, the completion tune is exactly the same as Girl at the Rock Show by Blink-182.
Yeah, that was
which is really weird. You finish it, you listen to the completion, it goes down, 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 down. I was like, that's Blink-182. But obviously, I don't think, I can't imagine that Blink-182 in whatever it was, late 90s or early 2000s, were ripping off some obscure Edd the Duck game on the C64. But the similarity is quite something. So, go have a listen to that and have a listen, see what you think. Aside from that, though, when this comes out in a year or two on budget, it'll be you get £3 worth of solid game here. As it is right now, it's not worth a tenner. What did you think?
No, I was initially quite impressed with it. It had a nice look to it. It did look the part, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It had a nice it did have a nice, colourful, because it's high res mixed with medium res, wasn't it? But quite nicely sort of outlined stuff. It had a nice vibe to it. The UI was quite nice. The way it played was just a bit floaty though, and the jump was a bit too much. And I think you're exactly right. Who is the audience for this? Edd the Duck. Edd the Duck was oddly popular with kind of not just like children, but he was kind of popular with it's a bit like Roland Rat, kind of had that kind of appeal. He was kind of a sidekick that kind of had a bit of reputation for being a bit odd, even though it was just a puppet at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of quirky, platformy sort of basis for this game, it just felt a little bit out of place. The playability isn't there in totality. It just gets needlessly challenging, and the controls floaty, and you just end up bumping into things way too often, and you can't really alter the progression of your jumping. So you're kind of trying to jump upwards. You're inevitably going to hit a teddy bear or a rogue fish thing, or in the process of trying to get those stars.
Mm-hmm.
Mario, it ain't.
No.
And it owes a great deal to those kind of games. It's trying to try that kind of game logic. Too floaty, too bitty. The duck looks weird because it's got no eyeballs. It just looks a bit it's like it's completely high on cocaine or something. It's very pie-eyed, I have to say, even with its little green Mohican. I thought that it tried to be one thing, which was appeal to one audience, and it played like another game completely, which didn't appeal to that audience. And the interplay between those two things meant that it actually ended up being not enough fun for any of them. Now, as a budget game, you might have bypassed some of that and thought, you know what, for a budget game, this has got a little bit to it. And it did have kind of a nice arcadey styling to it. Rainbow Islands, as you say, it was a lot to that.
Mm.
But it just didn't have much fun underneath the hood. It was just a bit punishing and a bit dare I say, not dreary because it's colourful, but it's just a little bit, I don't know, inflexible with what it's trying to be. And so it just lacked the kind of punch that a game like this needs. And in the end, I just got fed up with hitting the enemy objects at the wrong moments. I started to get the nebulous anger, and I didn't need that. So I was like, right, I'm out of here. But it didn't deserve to get 70% for full price. 70% might have been a passable score if it was $1 or $2.99 though.
Yeah.
But and I just don't think this had currency at this point, really. Nobody would have been playing this or wanted it. You're not that far from the Amiga games of this type. You have Cool Spots and your things like that coming out, and what's it called? There's Zool and things like that on the Amiga, and it's just trouncing on the floor with this kind of thing, and with the C64 now. So not that good at all.
Yeah. There we go. Edd the Duck. It's not terrible. It's just wrong price point and wrong audience. This needs to be simplified a little bit. And it comes out, like I said, it does get a budget re-release in like a year's time.
Yeah, that's better.
And then it will be better received, I think. That's it. That's our games for February. And what did we look at this week? Well, we looked at Shadow of the Beast. It's been a bit of a dull week. Shadow of the Beast.
A long run in the park, yeah.
A long run in the park. Curse of Ra.
Not yellow enough.
Not yellow enough. I never thought I'd say that. It wasn't all yellow.
No. Needed to be more yellow.
Needed to be more yellow. Cyberball.
Stupid.
Robot. God. So frustrating.
So annoying.
And Edd the Duck, which probably the best of the lot, maybe.
Which is crazy, yeah. It's certainly the more playable game out of that. Shadow of the Beast is probably a little bit more of a good conversion from another format. So
yeah. There we go. That's it. Right, we do have a couple of crapverts. I was so glad to see that they were back.
It's the Spo League.
They're back. And this time in driving form, but they've still got laser eyes.
Yeah, and they're still not looking where they should be, so they clearly don't know where they're going.
They're just flying off something.
If that's a flying car, why has it got wheels?
I don't know. I think it's flying off that ramp. I don't know what's going on here. Do you want to tell people what we're looking at?
So this is SPO RTS 4D driving, or sports driving 4D sports driving. Do you want to drive in the fourth dimension? No.
Everyone does. We already do that.
This is from DSI, of course, the creators of Test Drive and the Duel Test Drive 2. I'm not sure anyone wanted this.
No.
And the image to sell this experience, such as it is our two robots from the boxing game who are clearly now still dressed, fully dressed.
Driving on the way back home from the fighting.
Driving on the way back home with headlights on in the car when they don't need it because they've got eye lights. They don't need them.
Also, that windscreen wiper is precariously placed in front of the driver. Who's driving it? Which one?
Why would they need a windscreen wiper? They can see through the bloody rain. They're robots. They've got radar.
They've got laser eyes.
Why are the lights on the front of the car not coming out of where the headlights should be?
No.
Are they painted on?
I don't know. There's also there's an arrow pointing at a disc sign on that car. It says exit, and it's got many air. What are those?
Yeah. Why has it got air vents for robots that don't breathe? They don't breathe. And have you noticed there's no joins for the doors? How the hell did they get in?
Just through the window.
It looks like they're going through the roof for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so stupid.
It's utterly stupid.
I was glad to see him back after the boxing one. But when I saw him back, I was like, "Oh, Graham's going to love this."
I mean, I love the fact that they've got a windscreen wiper on a car for robots, and that the headlights aren't where the headlights should be.
No.
I also like the fact that they've got no way of getting in or out. It seems it must be gull-wing doors, but it doesn't look like there's any join for the gull-wing doors. I don't understand it. I don't get why does 4D driving mean flying cars? Why aren't they just in a plane or something that flies?
I don't know. What is that? What's that arrow pointing at? It says exit.
I don't know. It looks like a face of a transformer. It's like Optimus Prime in there.
Yeah.
I don't quite get it. And they also, if you notice, the way they've drawn the car, it's the perspective just slightly wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not quite right.
See, I also think as well the way they've drawn him, it looks like the one on the left. I think he's driving. He's got his hand hanging out the window, and he's looking forward, and the other one's turning towards him like they're having an argument. It's like, what did you say?
I told you that was our turning.
Stop going away. What did you say? Oh.
Exactly. Look, do you want to drive? Do you?
Well, at least I know where to go. I wouldn't have missed the turning, would I?
That's it. I'm turning my eyes off.
It's just stupid.
It's utterly stupid. I love the idea of giving a robot car headlights for no reason whatsoever. When they've got their own headlights, they've actually got lights on their head that illuminate their eyes.
There'd be loads of cars crashing all around them because they've got 3 lots of full beam going on.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine the laser beams that would reflect into your eyes if they were behind you? I mean, don't dazzle. Dippy headlights takes a whole new meaning when the robots blind you with their laser eyes. Like, it's just, why are you looking at me?
Why have you seen my rearview mirror off?
Yeah, it's absolutely. What is this game about? That doesn't sell driving. Do you want to drive in the fourth dimension? What is that? Just thin air?
I don't know.
It looks like it's been launched off a bridge or something and going to crash. Yeah. That's not a good thing. That's not good at all. I love that arrow pointing at the exit for no reason whatsoever. What does it even mean? Well, if it's on the outside, it's not helping anybody because they're inside, locked inside. So how are they going to get to that exit button?
Don't know. To climb out the windows, I guess. What do I care? It's just the way he's just got such a relaxed pose. He's like a hand on the thing, just driving.
He's just driving.
What did you say?
Driving. God knows what fuel that runs on. Then it needs 3 massive exhaust ports on the side body of the car.
That's only on one side. I presume there's another 3 on the other side.
And it looks like it's got jet thrusters at the back. What kind of engine is in this car? And it's got like a weapon attached to the front, a bit like a Lotus, I think. It's trying to be like a a Lotus. But that ain't no Lotus. That's Homer's car. It's almost like the one he invented.
Driven by robots. Why? Why was I programmed to drive casually?
Yeah, exactly. Why do they need to be looking at a map? They're robots.
don't know.
Surely they'd just have like programs that they wouldn't know where to go. And they're not seeing any programs with future cars. They all know where they're going. They don't even need steering wheels, do they, really? They can just plug in.
No, where they need to go, they don't even need roads.
Well, it just seems odd that they would put all of the finery of a car onto a robot car. They don't need it. They're not going to be bothered by rain because they can see through that. They've got radar eyes. They don't need steering wheel because they could just plug in. Even if it was a plug that went up their arse on the seat and that's how they communicated with the car, it would still work. They don't need any of that. They don't. Why are they even in the car? They could just run really fast.
I don't know. It's just crazy. I'm just glad to see them back. I hope they turn up in another one as well. I'm hoping to see a third advert with them in. What would they be doing next time? Like housework? 4D housework?
I don't know. The SPO League is a demanding league, it seems to me. These poor robots, like, oh, what they're going to get us doing next? We've done boxing where they made us wear pants for no reason. Now we're in a car with no doors.
What more horrors can they
and they painted the headlights on for some reason.
I don't know, and made us have a gull wing or whatever that thing is on the side.
Look, I'm not sure what you call that, but it doesn't look to me like there's any way of them getting in or out easily.
No. And that front wheel is in the wrong place as well because it'd be right up in his.
Yeah, it's really far back.
Yeah.
That's a long nose of a car. It's longer than any nose of a car that needs to be. It's just.
I don't think the front wheel generally goes under the front mirror, front windscreen.
No, it's not under the apex of the windows. No, it's a bit further forward than that normally.
Yeah.
That car's going to flap like crazy at the front. It's going to lift.
Which it has. It's why they're flying.
It has. Yeah, that's why it's took off. Yeah.
I told you this car wasn't a very good buy. Shut
you
up.
had to go to your mate, didn't you? You had to go to your mate and get his opinion.
Absolutely. He told you. Don't know why was I programmed to nag like this?
We couldn't have had the Fiesta. No. We had to go with the DeLorean 101. I knew it was a mistake when I couldn't get in through the door and we had to climb in through the roof.
And this bloody windscreen wiper's just in my way.
Yeah. And it's not even raining and I don't even need it.
Absolutely. Don't make me make my laser eyes at you. I can't turn them off.
And it won't even reach the driver's side. Look, it's not long enough.
Nope.
Useless, that. Useless.
Bloody rubbish.
I love the fact there's no rear view mirror, by the way, as well in that car. They can't see anything. There's no tiny wing mirror, one wing mirror.
Well, they've got no rear window.
Well, yeah, but his wing mirror, look, all he'd see is those jet engine things. He ain't seen anything out of that.
That's his shoulder, isn't it? That's his arm.
That's his arm. He's got no wing mirror then, so they've got no way of seeing anything behind him or around him.
They don't need to.
Good luck parking that robo, dickhead.
Yeah, take that. Score 1 for Zapped to the Past.
Take that back to the SPO League, you parking buffoon.
Oh dear, here we go. That's the SPO 4D RTS driving. We've got another one. This was actually given to us by someone on our Patreon, on our Discord. This was ALH2 Retro. This is for, I had seen this, I was going to include it, but this is for eSWAT, a game we have reviewed already. This is another one of those, it's in like the Line of Fire one, but
oh dear.
I was looking at it for ages going, should I include this? And I thought, I should have, really.
It's complicated, that one, isn't it?
There's many angry cops, many angry police. And then obviously the game features you as a robot cop or lobster cop, as we saw in the C64 version.
It is.
There's a badge being smashed through the screen, and on the right, that is Police Department, eSWAT, City of Liberty. Oh, well, that's all about.
That police department writing seems like a bit of an afterthought, if you ask me, on that badge.
It really does.
I think they forgot about that. They're like, oh, God, turn the word police on there quickly. We can't have that. Just says eSWAT, don't mean anything. It needs to know with the police.
Yeah. Are you man enough to wear the eSWAT badge? Ugh, that's a crap tagline. And then there's 3 cops on the left.
Yeah, none of whom are wearing the eSWAT badge.
No. You would think one of them would be in the robo suit that you get on, wouldn't you? You know,
so utterly devoid of anything. I mean, look at the faces on them. Goodness me.
That one at the bottom makes me laugh. He's just holding it. I don't know what he's done. Something's happened to him below the waist because we can only see the top half of him, but he looks in pain and he's holding his gun up.
Yeah, he's got a look of a guy, like an extra from Star Wars that kind of never quite made it, so he was in this.
Yeah. It says, criminals are running amok in Cyber City. Law and order no longer exists. Only eSWAT, enhanced special weapons and tactics. The elite division of the Cyber police are capable
Just stop watching RoboCop. Just call it what it is, RoboCop, for goodness sake.
Armed with a cybernetic exosuit and equipped with the latest firepower weaponry. Why don't they show any of that on this advert?
Why don't they just call it RoboCop?
Yeah, that's true. They're all from films, aren't they? I'm trying to think what films they're from. The guy at the top, he looks like the guy from Ghostbusters. Yeah, Ernie Hudson. Yeah,
he looks like Ernie Hudson. The one in the middle looks like somebody from.
Is it from Cobra?
Could be Cobra or something like that. And the one at the bottom, he looks like someone out of Star Wars, I think, really. But
yeah,
they're all out of films of the 80s, aren't they? And they do look a bit like the characters from RoboCop as well, because of course you've got the captain who looks like the guy at the top a little bit, and then you've got the other soldiers a bit.
Yeah,
so.
And then just going up vertically sideways is E-SWAT in the bottom left corner.
Yeah, and it's outlined as well, and spattered. It's got spatter effects on it. I'm guessing that's meant to be fire. I guess. Just why do that? It doesn't need that there, but it covers up the fact that they didn't have any more screenshots to put on. I don't like the fact that the police department E-SWAT badge is being held fingertip-wise by some kind of robo glove. I'm not sure what that's all about. And is he pulling a grade with his teeth at that top guy? Or is it? No, it's a radio, isn't it? In his hand.
It's a radio. Yeah. It's not a very good advert.
Guff. No, it ain't.
But it follows in the same line as that Line of Fire one we looked at the other week.
Completely. Yeah, just rubbish.
They've gone for this style or something. For
action. It's meant to be action film, isn't it? Oh, it's action all the way. It's like it really isn't.
No.
I'm not sure what it's. I'm not sure what it's meant to be smashing through either. It's not clear what that is. If it's a window, what is it the window of? Why is it broken? And why are those 3 policemen hovering in it?
And only half of them. Not even half.
What does it mean?
No one knows. It's Rubbish. Not a very good advert. Rubbish.
No, it's not.
There we go. That's our crap verts for this week. Let's do the charts for February 1991. All right, countdown from 10. Quattro Adventures from Codemasters, number 10. Combat School in at number 9. Up to number 8 is Quattro Arcade from Codemasters. Down to number 7 is Target Renegade. Staying at number 6 is Run the Gauntlet. Wonder Boy is in at number 5 on Hit Squad.
Okay.
Quattro Sports is up to number 4. Outrun down to number 3. In at number 2, it's Super Hang On.
Oh dear.
Number 2 seems right for that one. And all the way up to number 1 is Paperboy.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going down from 11, DT Super Test at number 11.
What?
And it finally got a release. Salamander at 12. Golden Axe at 13. Is that the first full price one?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it's the first. It might be the only full price one. Maybe Back to the Future 2 as well. Double Dragon at 14. 15 is Fantasy Dizzy. Back to the Future at 16. Bigfoot at 17.
Oh God.
Quattro, don't know, God knows. Quattro Combat is at 18. Guardian Angel is at 19. And Pro Boxing is at number 20.
Not exactly the winning amount of games there. None of the new ones are in there that we've seen recently.
No. I mean, it's just budget titles now, isn't it? I mean, like I said, the only new one, Golden Axe.
Shocking, really.
Yeah, we'll see if Turrican 2 makes a bit of a dent, maybe. Shadow of the Beast, perhaps. Don't know. Don't think any of the stuff from last month will, but we'll see what happens next month. Coming up next month for March. March is a 2 episodes, only 10 games for March. It's a 2-episoder. We are looking at games like Last Ninja 3.
Okay.
Super Monaco GP. We finally get to look at Line of Fire. I'm not expecting much from that. Supercars. Total Recall.
Okay.
That pops up. Weltris. Not quite sure. That's maybe some kind of Tetris thing. 3D Pinball.
Okay.
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
God, why?
Presume is probably a conversion of the arcade versions. Dragon Strike. See what that's like. And finally, Turbo Kart Racer.
Okay.
So what we have coming up for March 1991. The next few weeks. There we go. That's it. February done.
That's it. Thank God. One great game. Lots of many not so good ones.
Yeah, not so many good ones. It's Christmas. Schedule may be a bit different coming up over the next few weeks due to timings and things like that. So we may not get to March until 2025 now.
Yeah, after Christmas, I think it's probably likely. We'll see how it works out.
It's probably likely, but yeah. So we'll have something out, but we'll be taking a week or two off over Christmas, like we normally do, to see families chill out and do things like you should do in Christmas.
Wet our whistles.
But yeah, March might now not come in until we're into 2025. So yeah, so that's it. February, and we're done. I mean, not for this year, but obviously there you go. Anything you want to say about February, Graham?
No, only thing is to say that we've had one great game. Knowing how thin on the ground the great games are going to be for 1991, I'm wondering how challenged that game's going to be come the Golden Bread Bin Awards. It's going to be interesting to see if for the first time ever we have a bread bin sweeps, one that sweeps the awards, because I haven't seen anything coming yet that could challenge it. But I hope there is. I do hope it isn't just going to be one horse race.
Yeah, I mean, is Last Ninja 3 any good? I don't know. Or is it just more Last Ninja?
More Last Ninja.
More or less picking stuff up with your butt.
I'm not saying it's not good, because it's got an amazing soundtrack to that. It's really good. We'll see. It's not a game I've played massively, but can I get back into the headspace of Last Ninja? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing much.
The Amiga is now officially rocking it now with games. You've got some mega games starting to emerge, and that ain't going to change.
That's the only one I can see coming up that might. I don't know what the C64 version is like, but we've got Speedball 2 coming up somewhere later on this year.
It's not the Amiga version, that's for sure.
No, it probably won't be. There's always Thunder Jaws.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Don't even know what that is. There we go. I think we're going to call it a night there. And so we're going to go. We will be back. We will be back next week with something. Not quite sure what, but we will be back. Just remains for me to say, as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. And we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.